Okay. So, hello class. So, gi-discuss tayo ngayon ng business combination ulit. Pero this time, part 2 na. Now, medyo na-review ko yung natin, yung book natin kay Zeus. Tapos yung business part 1, 2, and 3 pala, it only pertains to the acquisition date. Sa acquisition date lang, yung business part 1 and 2. Yung mga subsequent na gagawin natin for business combination, basically, nasa next part na siya ng topic or ng book ni Zeus, which is the consolidation of financial statements. Doon na lalabas yung madugo about sa business combination, which is particularly sa intercompany transactions. Doon yung madugo. So, basically, yung business combination part 1, 2, and 3 sa book ni Zeus, it only pertains to the acquisition date. The next chapters, doon na yung consolidation of financial statements. Doon na sila ituturing as a combined entity. Now, so don't worry too much about this sa discussion natin sa acquisition date. Kasi, pagdating sa board exam class, yung acquisition date, madali lang yan. Yung acquisition date part ng mga problems, madali lang yan. Minamadali yan ng mga examiners. Kasi usually, binibigay na agad yung fair value, wala ka nang kailangan computin. Tapos minsan, kung may kukumputin ka, proportionate method yan. Sabihin, use proportionate method for this, for the FBNA, for the NCI. So, tas given pa yung fair value. Bakit? Kasi yung first paragraph na yan, madali lang yan. Titira yan ng examiner sa second paragraph. Kasi, dyan na yung mga intercompany transactions. So, huwag kayong masyadong kabahan sa acquisition date or sa acquisition part ng business combination. Madali lang yan. Pero of course, kahit na madali lang yan, kailangan pa rin nating seryosohin para mas maintindihan natin yung labot ba, yung sense ng topic. So, in this part 1, or should I say part 2, it will focus on recognition and measurement. Parang additional topics na lang ba? Parang expansion pa para mas maintindihan natin yung business combination. So, start na tayo. So, recognition and measurement part 2. So, don't worry, most of this is listed naman sa book ni Zeus. Now, anong learning objectives natin for this topic? Well, first is to account business combinations accomplished through share-for-share exchanges. Now, as we know, share-for-share exchanges, ibig sabihin yung consideration na binigay ni acquirer is equity, shares ng kanyang company mismo. Yun yung pinambayad niya. Next is achieving stages. Ito na-discuss natin in short sa previous discussion natin. And C, achieve without transfer of consideration. Pwede ba yun, sir? Oo, pwede. Pwede ka mag-business combination ng walang transfer of consideration. Paano? Mamaya. Then, next bullet point na objective natin is to explain the measurement period in relation to business combination. Now, if you can remember again, nung previous discussion natin, medyo natakil natin yung measurement period, which is basically within 1 year. So, this time, gaya ng sabi ko, mas expand pa natin yung explanation yan. And yung pangatlo, per se, distinguish what is part of a business combination and what is part of a separate transaction. So, medyo theory yan. And lastly, account for settlement of pre-existing relationship between an acquirer and an acquiree. So, as we can see, gaya na sabi ko, expansion lang yan ng acquisition date topic ng business combination. Pero pagdating sa board exam, particularly sa problems, madali lang yung acquisition part. Kasi given na yan usually. Now, let's start with share-for-share exchanges. So, ano ba to siya? Well, ang sabi ni Zeus, the consideration transferred in a business combination accomplished through a mere exchange of equity interest between the acquirer and the acquiree or its former owners. Kasi equity or shares, particularly or specifically the ordinary shares, pertains to ownership of the company. Now, is measured, wala pala yung, hindi ko nalagyan ng pointer. So, ito, is measured at the acquisition date fair value. Now, which one of them? Of the acquirer, of the acquirees, or the acquirer's equity interest, whichever is more reliably determinable. So, anong meaning yan? Basically, ganyan sabi natin, share for share exchanges, ibig sabihin, yung pinambayad ni acquirer kay acquiree is yung sarili niyang shares. Sarili niyang shares sa company niya. Yun yung pinambayad niya. Yun yung consideration transferred. In exchange for that, naka-receive rin siya ng equity interest ng ownership kay acquiree. Now, in this particular case, siyempre, yung makukuha ni acquirer, yung makukuhang equity interest ni acquirer kay acquiree is enough to gain control over acquiree. Magiging parent si acquirer, si acquiree, magiging subsidiary. Pero yung makukuha ni acquiree from acquirer is not enough to gain control over the acquirer. Siyempre, kalokohan na yun. Kasi kailangan may acquirer, yung kakain, si acquiree, yung kinakain. So in that case, yung acquiree or yung mga former owners nito, magiging NCI na lang ni acquirer. So, medyo magulo siya. So, lagyan nyo na lang ng logic. Ganyan yan. So, yan yung share for exchange o share for share exchanges. Equity interest yung pinampapalit nila. Now, paano natin binavalue yan? Well, given dito, acquisition date for value, of course. Acquisition method, di ba? Of either kay acquiree or kay acquirer. Paano? Paano tayo pipili, sir? Whichever is more reliably determinable. For example, si acquirer, private company siya. Si acquiree naman, publicly listed, nasa stock exchange. Si acquiree. So, sa kanilang dalawa, sinong mas reliably mame-measure yung equity interest? Yung kanilang shares. Kanino? Di si acquiree. Bakit? Publicly listed siya Nasa stock exchange siya. And as we know, yung fair value na yan, in short or in layman's term or in sarili nating languages, yan yung perceived value ng market. So, it is reliably measured as compared sa shares ni acquirer. Kasi, private siya Mahirap malaman. Mahirap ma-determine yung kanyang shares. So, in that case, yung shares ni acquiree yung gagamitin kasi publicly listed siya. Now, what if pareho silang publicly listed? Di kay acquirer na. Pero of course, depende rin yan. Kasi maraming variables na kailangan i-consider. Basta sino yung mas reliably determinable kahit na pareho silang publicly listed, basta kung sino yung mas reliably determinable and gamitan na rin ng konting common sense logic, like yung isa publicly listed, tapos yung isa private, so yung publicly listed yung reliably determinable. So, take that into consideration. Tandaan nyo yan. Now next, paano natin yung ginagawa? Siyempre may illustration tayo as provided by Zeus. Now, ito. Si ABC ko, nag-issue ng shares in exchange for 100% interest kay XYZ. So, as we can see here, ABC ko is the acquirer. XYZ is the acquiree. And as we can see here, this is a stock acquisition. So, si ABC yung parent, si XYZ yung subsidiary. Ito naman yung mga relevant information. Now, ito yung mga accounts ni ABC ko at their carrying amounts. Kay XYZ naman at fair value. Then combined entity, ito. Now, ito additional information sa inyo. Pero malalaman nyo ito pagdating sa consolidation. Ganito yan, class. Pag i-consolidate mo na ang accounts ni parent at ni subsidiary, pag i-consolidate mo na, yung pag-value mo sa accounts ni parent, ang basis mo, carrying amounts. Pag i-consolidate mo na. Pero pag iba-value mo na, i-account mo na yung assets, yung accounts ni subsidiary, ang gagamitin mo, fair value. So, ganun yan. Ganun sa consolidation. Kay parent, yung carrying amounts, kung ano yung nasa book niya. Kay XYZ, hindi mo gagamitin yung carrying amounts. Gagamitin mo yung fair value. Ganun yan. Kaya pagdating nyo, pag example, yung iba sa inyo gusto mag-auditing firm, tapos na-assign kayo sa isang company, company na maraming subsidiary, dyan makikita nyo na maraming adjustments na kailangan gawin. Kailangan hanapan yung fair value ng mga assets ng subsidiary kasi yun yung ginagamit sa consolidation, sa combined entity. Kaya, as you can see here, pag inad to sila dalawa, ito yung value ng identifiable assets ng combined entity. Ito naman sa liabilities, sa share capital. Oh, bakit to, sir? Akala ko ba kino-combine, sir? Bakit 600 dito ang carrying amounts kay ABC parent? Tapos kay XYZ subsidiary 300. Sa combined entity 700 lang? Paano yan, sir? Di-discuss natin yan. Same lang kay share premium 300, 250. Bakit 1-2 lang, sir? Then mga question mark. So tandaan nyo, pagdating sa consolidation, kay parent, yung pag-account sa kanya is carrying amounts kung ano yung nasa book. Kay XYZ, sa subsidiary, pag i-consolidate na, yung pag-account sa mga subsidiaries is ginagamit yung fair value. Then, add mo sila, combined entity, consolidated financial statements. So, yan. So, napahaba yung explanation natin, pero mahalagang point yun. Ito, additional information. ABC share capital consists of 60,000 ordinary shares with par value of 10 per share. So, as you can see, 60 divided by 600, 10. Given eh. Bangga-bangga lang yan to verify. The next bullet point is XYZ share capital consists of 3,000 ordinary shares with par value of 100 peso per share. So, yun daw yung kay XYZ. So, 3,000 divided 300k divided by 3,000, it's 100. Oh, bangga ba? Verify lang natin para sure. So, ibig sabihin, correct yung statement. Ito yung value. Now, ito naman yung requirements na kailangan gawin. Ilan yung shares na in-issue ni parent, ni ABC? Pangalawa, ano yung fair value ng shares na in-issue ni ABC? Pangatlo, ano yung goodwill na i-recognize natin sa acquisition date? And pangapat, ano yung magiging retained earnings ng combined entity after nilang mag-combine or mag-business combination? So, una, ganito. Ilang shares yung in-issue? Ngayon, di ba sabi ko, pagdating sa consolidation, ina-account sa kay parent is yung kanyang carrying amount, kay subsidiary is yung kanyang fair value. Now, yung i-account mo lang dyan is yung assets and yung liabilities. Yung sinasama mo lang sa combined entity is yung assets, yung identifiable assets, and yung identifiable liability. Yung equity accounts ni XYZ, ignore mo yan. Hindi mo sinasama yan sa consolidation. Hindi mo yan sinasama sa combined entity. Ini-ignore mo yung equity ni subsidiary. Kaya, as you can see here, 600, kung i-add mo to sila, hindi dapat 700 to, 900 dapat. Kaya 700 yan kasi hindi mo ina-account yung equity ni subsidiary. Kaya ignore mo to. Ignore mo yan, si subsidiary, yung equity niya lang. Hence, with that concept, malalaman na natin kung ano yung magiging value or magiging amount ng shares na in-issue. And since, in addition pala, i-ignore mo yung equity ni subsidiary pagdating sa combined entity, pero mapapalitan niya ng non-controlling interest. Pero of course, sa consolidation na natin pag-uusapan. But for now, maganda na malaman nyo na pagdating sa combined entity, ulitin natin, paulit-ulit, di ba? Ini-ignore ang equity interest ni subsidiary. Hence, hindi siya kasama sa pag-account nito. So as you can see here, requirement A, number of shares issued. Ito yung share capital ni ABC, ni parent, as you can see here. Then, nung kinombine sila, 700 na. So, saan nanggaling yung 100? Saan nanggaling yung 100 increase? Now, ulitin natin. Pagdating sa combined entity, yung equity account lang ni parent ang ina-account paulit-ulit kong sinasabi to para ma-retain sa utak nyo. So, pagdating sa combined entity, equity account lang ni parent ang nasasama, ignore yung kay subsidiary. Hence, we can consider or we can safely assume na itong combined entity 700,000 na to, kay parent lang to. Shares to ni parent. Hence, this increase of 100,000 can be attributable or is attributable to an issuance of shares. Kasi kay parent lang to eh. Pagdating sa combined entity, equity interest niya lang ang matitira. Hence, we can safely assume na nagkaroon ng 100,000 increase sa kanyang share capital. Bakit nag-increase yung share capital? In this case, we can safely assume that it is because of issuance. Issuance. Kasi, if matatandaan nyo sa intermediate accounting nyo, may mga ibang reasons kung bakit tumataas yung share capital ng isang company. But for this case, yung naging reason bakit nagkaroon ng increase sa share capital, outstanding to outstanding share capital ni parent, ni ABC, is nagkaroon ng issuance. Bakit siya nag-issue? Para ma-acquire yung 100% interest kay XYZ. So yun yung flow of thought dito. Yun yung logic ng problem. Hence, increase in ABC's share capital divided by ABC's par value per share, given no? Number of shares issued is 10,000. So yan yung number of shares na in-issue ni ABC para ma-acquire yung 100% interest kay subsidiary XYZ. Now, pumunta naman tayo sa requirement B, which is the fair value per share. So alam na natin yung or given naman yung par value per share. Given na rin yung numbers of shares issued. Ngayon, pumunta tayo sa requirement B. Ang hinahanap dito, ano yung fair value ng bawat share, ng bawat outstanding capital. So, using the same logic na ginamit natin dito, na kung saan, yung sa combined entity, equity interest lang ni parent yung mag-survive, hence we can safely assume na yung any increases, any decreases attributable kay parent, using that same logic, i-apply natin dito. Which is ito, 600 plus 700,000, nagkaroon ng 100,000 increase kay parent, which is safely assumed from issuing the additional shares for the business combination. And with this, yung share premium, from 300, ignore the 50, of course, ignore the 250, naging 1,200,000. Nandito, 300, tumaas to 1,200,000. Saan mo yan? Sa tingin mo, saan yan nanggaling? We can safely assume in this case na kalakip yan or in connection yan sa issuance ng 10,000 additional shares for the business combination. Hence, i-add mo silang dalawa. This 100,000 increase and this 900,000 increase sa share premium. So, the total increase is 1 million. So, you can already determine that it is the fair value of the consideration transferred. Gets nyo? Good. Which is 1 million. Now, with that, i-divide natin sa number of shares issued, which is 10,000. Now, we can already answer that the acquisition date fair value of the shares that was issued in order to acquire 100% interest kay subsidiary XYZ was 100,000. Yan yung fair value per share at the acquisition date. So, ulitin natin. Not necessarily the whole step, but rather the concept na kailangan yung matandaan. Sa combined entity, pagdating sa equity niyan, ini-ignore yung kay subsidiary. Sinasama lang yung kay parent. Hence, you can safely assume that any differences between the parents, kung ano yung nakalagay sa books ni parent and ano yung nakalagay sa combined entity, you can safely assume na it is attributable to the transactions created or transactions entered into by the parent walang labot dyan si subsidiary. Kasi hindi natin ina-account yung kanyang equity interest. Ignore yan pagdating sa combined entity. Hence, using that logic, na-answer natin to. So, tandaan nyo yan. Lalo na pagdating natin sa consolidation ng financial statements. Ngayon, pumunta tayo sa requirement C, which is, hanapan daw natin yung goodwill. Now, since given naman to sila, consideration transferred, 1 million, walang non-controlling interest kasi 100% acquisition. Wala ring previously had interest. So, ang total COI, cost of investment, kung matatandaan yung table na ginawa natin, or yung sinuggest kong gamitin nyo, pero okay lang naman kung itong gagamitin nyo. Ang importante sa akin is naintindihan nyo kung anong ginagawa nyo. Naintindihan nyo yung lesson. So, kahit gamitin nyo man tong table na to or ganitong paparaan, or gamitin nyo yung table na ginawa kong example last time, okay lang. Basta maintindihan nyo yung lesson. Basta maintindihan nyo yung process. Kasi yung chine-check ko yung yung papers nyo, parang hati eh. Yung iba, finalo itong ginagamit ni Zeus. Yung iba, sinubukan rin gamitin yung table na provide ko. So that's good. At least, naintindihan nyo yung ginagawa nyo. At ang tataas nga ng score nyo. So, maganda yun. So yun, and the FBNA is 700 kasi given naman eh. 1.6 yung identifiable asset, 900 yung identifiable liabilities. As we know, fair value of the net assets ni acquiree is fair value of the identifiable assets minus the fair value of the identifiable liabilities. Hence, this 700,000. So, 1 million minus 700 is 300,000 goodwill. Ngayon, the next question is, ano yung retained earnings sa combined entity? 800 pa rin. Bakit? Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, ini-ignore natin yung equity interest ini-ignore natin yung equity ni XYZ pagdating sa or ng subsidiary pagdating sa combined entity. Hence, itong 150 ni XYZ, ignore yan. So, yung isasama lang natin o i-account lang natin as retained earnings sa combined entity is yung 800,000 ni ABC, which is the parent. Hence, makikita nyo dito, ito lang. So, ito na yung nila, kumbaga simple balance sheet, identifiable assets of 4 million, sama natin yung goodwill, 300, 43 ang total assets. Ngayon, yung liabilities, 1.6. Ito, dito lang yan. Sinama lang yan. Plus yung share capital ng 700. From 600, naging 700. Bakit? Saan ang galing yun? Sa issuance ni ABC parent para ma-acquire si XYZ. Same rin kay share premium from being 300, naging 1,200,000. Kasi yan yung premium from the issuance ng shares in order to acquire XYZ. Then, same lang yung retained earnings kasi paulit-ulit, parang silang plaka na tayo dito. Yung equity ng subsidiary, ignore yan pagdating sa combined entity. So, add mo to sila, 4,300,000. Balance, as all things should be. As accounting should be. So, napakasimple, di ba? Kasi gaya na sabi ko, expansion lang to ng discussion natin last time. Parang mga additional notes ba? Same rin ang mangyari pagdating sa business combination part 3. Expansion lang siya or additional notes lang siya for the business combination. Now, pagdating yan sa review nyo, paspasan yan. Paspasan yung mga important points lang yan yung ipapaaral sa inyo. Pero of course, maganda na matutunan nyo yan ngayon pa lang para handang-handa kayo, prepared kayo pagdating ng review. Kasi yung mga questions na ibibigay sa inyo sa board exam, napaka-different yan sa kung ano yung ma-receive nyo for this undergrad topic or for this undergrad subject. Kasi sa board exam, halo-halo yan eh. Parang cases yan. Yung case 1, case 2, or step by step. Kung mali ka sa unang number, madadama yung next number mo. Dito kasi per topic per topic. Pero of course, bigyan natin kayo ng mahirap na questions para ma-exercise rin yung utak nyo. Pero don't worry too much about it. Mas ma-experience yung hirap pag nagre-review na kayo sa mga problems. So maganda na matatag or mas maganda na matibay yung foundation nyo. Kaya piece by piece yung discussion dito for the undergrad subject. Kasi pagdating nyo sa review nyo for this college, review subject nyo for this college, if meron ba, and pagdating nyo sa proper review, sa review center, hindi na kayo dehado. Kasi kasi based on my experience, marami sa mga schools na kung saan hindi maganda yung pagturo ng business combination sa kanila. Nahihirapan yung mga students. Fortunately for the ADSU pips, in credit to Sir Jasper Adjarani, maganda yung foundation ng mga ADSU pips for business combination kasi maganda yung pagkaturo ni Sir Jasper sa amin. So anyways, enough MMK. Punta tayo sa next topic, which is business combination achievement stages. Now, if you can remember, sa unang video, natackle natin to pero napaka-ikli ng discussion na yun. Sinabi lang natin kung ano yung ano yung concept na yan with one example. Ang tawag pa dyan is step acquisition. Bakit step acquisition? Kasi on the first step, which is may previously held interest ka, let's say 10%. Then on the next step, nag-decide ka na mas mag-acquire ng additional interest sa acquiree. Hence, nag-gain ka ng control. That is why it is called a step acquisition. First step, hindi pa enough to gain control. Second step, baka hindi pa rin enough to gain control. Then third step, baka pwede na to gain control. Or kahit sa second step pa lang, enough na to gain control over the acquiree. Kaya step acquisition ang tawag sa kanya sa business combination achievement stages. Now, this is achievement stages or occurs when an investor acquires additional shares from an investee, which it had previously held equity interest, and additional shares purchase results to the investor gaining control or obtaining control over the investee. So, nag-business combination na sila. Now, paano natin ina-account? Ito. Una, remeasure the previously held equity interest or PHI lang, kahit previously held interest lang, in the acquiree at its acquisition date fair value. Meaning yan, kasi yung previously held interest na yan, yung example, yung 10% PHI mo, in-account mo yan kung ano yung standard in relation to that. Investment in associate ba? Investment in a joint venture? Or PFRS 9? Yun yung pag-account mo sa kanya. Pero, at the moment na nagkaroon na ng business combination, yung previously held interest mo, i-account mo na yan siya under PFRS 3, which is acquisition date, fair value na ang gagamitin mo. Hence, magkakaroon ng remeasurement. So, ulitin natin, yung previously held interest, at the first place, ina-account mo yan siya sa kung ano yung nature niyan. Kung ano yung nature ng transaction na yan. PFRS 9 ba? Financial instrument? Baka investment in associate? Baka investment in a joint venture? Who knows? Pero ganun yung pag-account mo. Pero at the moment na nagkaroon na ng business combination, yung previously held interest na yan, i-account mo na using PFRS 3 business combination. And i-value mo na siya at the acquisition date fair value. So, magkakaroon ng remeasurement ng previously held interest na yan. And second, i-recognize mo yan gain or loss na yan on the remeasurement, either profit or loss or other comprehensive income. So I know, matatandaan nyo na yung lesson nyo from your intermediate accounting. Kung depende sa nature ng transaction, depende sa nature ng account, kung ang pag-account mo sa remeasurement na sa gain on nabulol ako dun. Ulitin natin. So, I know you can remember your topic sa intermediate accounting na kung saan yung any gains or loss on remeasurement, yung pag-account mo dyan, nakadepende sa nature ng account or ng transaction. Either sa profit or loss or sa other comprehensive income, OCI. Ngayon, ito, sabi dito, if that previously held interest was classified as FBPL, under yan siya, is FBPL, investment associate or investment in joint venture, profit or loss. Pero kapag classified yan as FAVOCI, FBOCI, other comprehensive income. So makita nyo dito, PFRS 9, investment associate, investment in joint venture. Gaya na sabi ko, before the business combination, before the acquisition, yan yung pag-account mo sa kanya. But after the business combination, acquisition date fair value niya. So ito, example. Pero of course, dun sa previous video, may example rin doon. Pero yung ginamit doon, hindi given yung fair value ng PHI. Kaya grinos up pa yon. Pero dito, given na yung value ng PHI. So on January 1, 2021, si ABC ko inacquire or nag-acquire siya ng 50% ownership interest kay XYZ. So investor, si ABC, investee si XYZ. Wala pang business combination yan. Excuse me, for 100,000 pesos. Ngayon si investor ABC classified that investment as held for trading securities, FVPL, profit or loss, in accordance with PFRS 9. So yan yung pag-account niya sa 15%. Ngayon, on January 1, 2024, nag-decide si ABC, gusto kong kontrolin si XYZ. So, mag-acquire siya ng additional ownership interest kay XYZ. Additional of 60%. Tandaan nyo, additional 60%, hindi to 60%. So, since additional 60%, i-add mo yan on top of the 15%. So, 60 plus 15, 85% ownership. 75% ownership interest ang total ownership interest ni ABC kay XYZ. So since more than 50% na yan, you can already consider this as a business combination. May control na eh. Nag-obtain na ng control si ABC over XYZ. Stock acquisition to. So, parent ABC, subsidiary XYZ. Ngayon, yung binayaran ni ABC for that 60% additional ownership is 800,000 pesos. So, yan. Previously held interest was 15% accounted under FBPL, PFRS 9. Nag-decide si ABC. Gusto kong i-control si XYZ. Boom! Additional 60% ownership for the amount of 800,000. Total ownership interest ni ABC kay XYZ, 75%. Enough or more than enough to gain control over XYZ. PFRS 3 na yan. Business combination. Gagamitin na ang acquisition date fair value. Ngayon, ito, relevant information. Yung PHI interest, yung previously held equity interest na 50%, may carrying amount yan na 170,000 noong December 31, 2023. Before the business combination. Ito yung value niya. Ngayon, nung nagka-business combination, nung inassess na yung value niya, nung fair value niya, 180,000 na siya. Nung business combination, nung acquisition date, 180,000 na siya. So, usually, like yung gaya na sabi ko sa previous video, hindi binigay yung fair value ng PHI, pero grinos up natin siya. So, if you want, you can watch that again or tingnan na lang yung tawag dito sa program na to, PowerPoint. So, yan. Basta tandaan nyo to, mahalaga dito yung fair value ng PHI at the acquisition date. So, yung fair value ng PHI 15% was 180,000 pesos. Na yung yung FVNA niya, XYZ, was 1 million. Ngayon, sinabi ni ABC elected to measure the NCI at proportionate share. Minadali na lang. Proportionate share. Now, ang requirement, compute for the goodwill. So, ganito. Consideration transferred, 800,000. That's for the additional 60%. NCI, since 75% lang naman ang inacquire ni ABC. So, yung NCI natin is 25% and the FBNA was 1 million. So, 1 million times 25% yung NCI in the acquiree, 250,000 pesos. Ngayon, sinasama natin sa cost of investment sa total yung previously held equity interest sa acquiree. Now, in this case, since acquisition date fair value ang ginagamit, PFRS 3 and since given na siya, 180,000, boom, lagay nyo na lang. Pero gaya na sabi ko, minsan gino-gross up yan kasi minsan hindi given yung fair value. Ngayon, ito, ang cost of investment, 1,230,000 minus the FVNA, which is given naman, 230,000 yung goodwill. Now, ito yung samples or yung method ni Zeus. Pero of course, ito, ipakita ko rin paano siya ginagawa sa table na binigay ko. So, total, parent 75%, NCI 25%. Ito, cost of investment, total lang yan siya. Dito, FVNA, goodwill. Now, NCI, since 25%, FVNA was 250,000, then proportionate method pa, ito, 250,000. Ngayon, dito na pinapakita paano ina-account si PHI, paano sa sinasali sa table. Yung consideration transferred of 800,000, which is this one, plus the PHI, the fair value of the PHI, which is 180,000. Ganito siya ina-account sa table. Separate siya pero as one siya. Sineparate lang siya para ipakita yung distinguishment nila dalawa. Na yung isa, consideration transferred, yung isa, fair value ng previously held interest. Minus sa FVNA ni parent, sa portion ni parent na 75%, 1 million times 75%, 750, 230,000, 230,000. So yan, pinakita ko lang sa table na to, paano siya ginagawa sa table na to. Kasi dito kay Zeus, ito yung format niya, yung proforma niya ever since. Ito, ganito ginagawa kapag may PHI. Ganito ang ginagawa sa table kapag may PHI. So, yun. Oh, tunaw ang nandun. Ngayon, okay. Pumunta man tayo sa pag-journalize sa kanya. Held for trading securities. Unrealized gain. Diba sabi natin dito? Remeasure the previously held equity interest in the acquiree at its acquisition date, fair value. Then, i-recognize mo yung gain on loss sa remeasurement na yun, either sa profit or loss, or sa OCI, depende sa classification ng previously held interest. Now, in this case, since this is FVPL, in accordance with PFRS 9, sana yun ako? Oh, ganito yung pag-remeasure sa kanya. Under profit or loss, unrealized gain. Kasi as we can see, 170 lang yung carrying amount niya. Tapos nung in-account yung fair value, 180,000. Wait, tama ba to? 15% carrying amount. I-check ko doon sa book. Baka mali ang nakopy ko dito. Pupu. Saan to? Settlement pre-existing. Provisional amounts. Measurement period. Oh, okay, nakita ko na. Yeah. Nagmali lang ng pag-type si Zeus. Kasi, oo, nagmali siya ng pag-type. Oo, tama. Oo, nagmali ng pag-type si Zeus. Sorry for that long kay chinek ko kasi tingnan mo, 170. Tapos kung i-check niyo yung book ni Zeus, 170 yung dito, di ba? Tas 180. Tama. Pero pagdating dito, Bakit 30,000? Dapat 10,000 na yan, di ba sir? Pero kung makikita nyo sa book ni Zeus, nilagay niya, kaya naging 30,000 was 180,000, which is this one, minus 150,000 to remeasure the PHI to acquisition date fair value. So, my guess is that itong 170,000, dapat yan, 150 para maging 30. So, I guess typo lang to. Typo lang yan. So, anyways, kasi nakalagay sa book ni Zeus is 180 minus 150 to remeasure the gain. Then, ito, profit or loss. Kalimutan kong ilagyan ng profit or loss kasi, gaya na sabi natin, it is under PFRS 9. And PFRS 9, FVPL, accounted siya under profit or loss. Nagiging OCI lang yan kapag favocci siya. And with that, okay, wala. So, typo lang yan. Kala ko, nagmali ang pagkano ko. Yung typo lang pala sa book ni Zeus. So, anyways, sorry for that long, dead air. So, continue natin. Wala na space dahil sa book nito. Okay. Continue natin. Investment in subsidiary, 800,000 cash. Diba? Kung matatandaan nyo, yung pag-account ni parent ng investment niya or ng acquisition niya, in a stock acquisition, tandaan nyo, kasi in an asset acquisition, kakainin lang ni parent yung assets, yung identifiable assets and yung identifiable liabilities ni acquiree. Pero pagdating sa stock acquisition, yung pag-account ni parent, investment in subsidiary yung account name na ginagamit niya. Ito yung account na ginagamit niya, investment in subsidiary. And since this problem is a stock acquisition, investment in subsidiary ang gagamitin. So, investment in subsidiary of 800,000, in consideration transferred, cash, ito. Then, since may previously held interest, i-reclassify mo siya. From held for trading securities, i-close mo siya, i-credit mo, into investment in subsidiary. So, yung total amount mo, yung total investment in subsidiary mo, ay, hindi man. So, ito yung magiging, nabulol man ako dun, investment in subsidiary mo, i-reclassify mo yan from trading or from held for trading securities. Kasi, hindi na siya under PFRS 9 FVPL. I-account mo na siya since nag-business combination siya under PFRS 3 using the account name of investment in subsidiary. So, napaka-basic. No sweat sa inyo. Expanding lang yan. Na-explain na natin yan nung previous video. Pero ito, expanded discussion lang para mas ma-retain nyo. Retention. Kasi pagdating sa board exam, no matter how many books or reviewers na pag-aaralan nyo, if you cannot retain what you have gained, wala rin. Kawawa ka. So, maganda, ma-retain yung knowledge. And paano mo ma-retain yung knowledge? Paano ma-retain yung lessons? Repetition, kas. Repetition. Like, paulit-ulit mong basahin, pero nakakatamad yun eh. Mas maganda if mag-answer ka ng maraming problems. Yun yung magandang repetition para magkaroon ng retention. Unless na may photographic memory ka, kudos. Goods ka na. Next is ito. Business combination achieved without transfer of consideration. Ha? Pwede ba yun, sir? Oo, pwede yan. Kasi dati, hindi acquisition method yung term na ginamit for business combination. But rather, purchase method. Purchase method ang ginamit. Pero, may mga business combination kasi dynamic yung dynamic yung business eh. Maraming pwedeng mangyari, maraming pwedeng variables. Hence, using purchase method as the basis for accounting business combinations is magandang word na gamitin? Is hindi magandang representation kasi may mga business combination na kahit walang purchase, kahit walang consideration na tina-transfer, pwede pa ring matawag na business combination. Hence, from being called the purchase method or from using the purchase method, ang ginamit na, nagkaroon ng revision, ang term na ginamit ngayon is acquisition method. Kasi pwedeng magkaroon ng business combination kahit na walang purchase, kahit na walang transfer of consideration. Pero if you can remember sa SMEs, sa SMEs, purchase method pa rin ginagamit. Pero overall, pagdating sa PAS, sa mga sa average, basta pagdating sa SMEs, purchase method pa rin ginagamit kung makikita nyo or kung matatandaan nyo sa previous discussion natin, or kung binasa nyo lang man yung slides. So anyways, continue tayo. In a business combination, kung saan walang consideration at transfer, si acquirer substitutes the acquisition date fair value of its interest in the acquiree for the acquisition date fair value of the consideration transferred to measure, para daw ma-measure yung goodwill or yung gain on bargain purchase. So from the acquirers or from the acquisition date fair value of its interest in the acquiree for the acquisition date fair value of the consideration transferred. Ngayon, second bullet, ngayon may mga business combination din nangyari na kontrata lang. Hence, kapag ganun, interest held by parties other than the acquirer are attributed to the NCI. Kahit na 100% na sa NCI. Bakit ganun, sir? Kaya kapag 100% sa NCI, so anong business combination doon, sir? Contract alone, kapatid. Alam naman natin, or as we have discussed sa nature ng business combination, may acquirer, may acquiree. Si acquirer, nagiging acquirer lang siya kapag nag-gain siya ng control. Yung mga remaining investors na may investment nga kay acquiree pero walang control, tawag sa kanila, di ba, non-controlling interest. Kaya dito, class, yung logic nito, kahit na walang ownership interest si acquirer over kay acquiree, by contract alone, the acquirer gains control over the acquiree. Hence, you can easily presume that there is a business combination. Kahit na 100% pa yan, NCI. Kasi itong mga NCI na to, kahit na they own 100%, pero wala silang control, NCI ang tawag sa kanila. Kasi by contract alone eh. Like say, sabihin natin, ABC and XYZ enter in a contract whereby ABC gains control over XYZ. Doom, may business combination tayo. Kahit na walang ownership interest at the first place si ABC kay XYZ. As long as ABC gains control over XYZ, there's a business combination. Even though ABC does not have any previously held interest at the first place. Hence, yung mga investors ni XYZ will be considered NCI. Ganito, by contract alone. Basic, di ba? Kaya, acquisition method na yung ginamit, hindi purchase method. Kasi, ulitin natin, may mga business combination na pwedeng mangyari without transfer of business consideration. So, baka may mga true or false question yan pagdating sa theory. Can business combination achieve without transfer of consideration? True. Ito, illustration tayo. ABC ko owns 36,000 or 36,000 out of the 90,000 outstanding shares of XYZ. Now, balikan natin yung yung natutunan nyo sa intermediate accounting. Outstanding shares, ibig sabihin, ito yung mga shares na in-issue. Ito yung mga shares na may nagmamay-ari. And usually, these are the ordinary shares. Or, in this case, these are the ordinary shares. And ordinary shares pertains to ownership. Ownership with control. Ownership with voting rights. Now, di sabi dito, 36,000 out of that 90,000 outstanding shares. Ito yung mga na-issue shares. Tandaan nyo. Pagmamayari in ABC. So, 36,000 divided by 90,000, that's 40%. So, we cannot, and without any further details, we can simply assume na walang control at that time si ABC. 40% lang eh. Ngayon, may nangyari. ABC accounts for the investment, may nangyari. Ito muna. ABC accounts for the investment under the equity method. Ngayon, may nangyari na. May ginawa si XYZ. Anong ginawa niya? XYZ subsequently reacquires 30,000 shares from other investors. Oh my God! Ano nangyari? Nagkaroon ng ni-reacquire ni ABC, ni XYZ, yung mga outstanding shares. Ilan yung ni-reacquire niya? 30,000. So, from that, 90,000 outstanding shares, yung natitirang 30,000 outstanding shares, ulitin natin. So, we can safely say, nabubulol man ako. So, from that 90,000 outstanding shares, nag-reacquire si XYZ ng 30,000. Meaning, yung natitirang outstanding shares, 60,000 na lang. And in that problem, hindi sinabi, or by using this word, from other investors, you can safely assume na hindi kasama sa ni-reacquire yung 36,000 ni ABC. Kasi from other investors. So it means na-retain ni ABC yung 36,000 outstanding shares niya. Now, dito na nagkakaroon ng ano. Kasi, you can safely say, uy, wait lang sir, kahit mental math pa lang, we can determine na nagkaroon ng control si ABC over kay XYZ because of that reacquisition of 30,000 shares. Kasi nung una, 36 divided by 90, 40% lang yan eh. 40% ownership. Pero ngayon, since yung outstanding shares is 60 na lang, 36, and we can safely assume na hindi kasama sa ni-reacquire yung kay ABC because of this wording, from other investors. So, na-retain ni ABC yung kanyang 36. So, ilan yan? 36 divided by 60. 36 divided by 60. That's 60%. That's 60%. So, now, after that reacquisition, ABC now has control over XYZ without even transferring any consideration for that matter. Nagkaroon ng business combination ipso facto without any movement from XYZ. Wala siyang ginawa. Nakaupo lang siya. Nagkaroon agad ng business combination. Wala siyang transfer na any consideration. So from that, you can say that's an example of business combination without transferring any consideration. Ngayon, may mga, kung mababasa niyo yung book ni Zeus, meron pang ibang other forms. Gaya ng sabi ko, without, sample to. Nag-reacquire ng shares. Meron din sample yung by contract alone. Pero, tas meron pa yung isang example. Wait, kung sa mga wala pang book ni Zeus, hanapin natin. Ano yung sample na yun? Ito yung letter B. Minority veto rights that previously kept the acquirer from controlling the acquiree have lapsed. So, previously may veto rights. So, kahit na malaki yung ownership ni acquirer, pero may veto rights yung minority, kapag nag-lapse na yung veto rights na yun, ipso facto, automatic, may control na ulit si ABC. May full control ulit na siya kapag nag-lapse na yung veto right na yun. So, yun yung third example. So, yung first example, ito. Second example, yung by contract. Third example, yung pag-lapse ng veto rights. So, saan dito yun? Napahaba tayo ng explanation. Pero of course, kailangan natin maintindihan yung concept. Not without even transferring any consideration, nagkaroon ng business combination. Nakaupo lang si ABC, business combination niya. Nag-gain agad siya ng control. Set additional information on the acquisition date. Yung PHI, yung previously held interest ni XYZ, ni ABC, was 40%. Ito yun, 36 divided by 90 outstanding shares, 40%. Sakto. And may fair value itong 180,000. So, ito, may previously held interest na. Masasama to sa computation nyo. Masasama nga ba? Depende. Kung ordinary transaction to, ordinary na may transfer of consideration, masasama to. Pero this time, since walang consideration, masasama ba? Malalaman natin. Pangalawang information is yung FVNA ni XYZ, 1 million. Then, ito, si ABC elects to measure NCI at proportionate share. So, yun, proportionate method, basic. So, ang hinahanap, compute for the goodwill daw. So, ito ang gagawin natin. Easy. Hala, sir? Parang iba man yan, sir. Sana yung PHI, sir? Yun yung sinasabi natin. Kapag normal transaction yan na may consideration transfer, masasama ang PHI, kung may tapos yung consideration na transfer. But in this case, since walang actual consideration na transfer, ganito yung magiging mukha ng table, ng proforma formula na binigay sa atin. Consideration transferred, 1 million times 60% is 600,000. NCI of the acquiree, 1 million times 40%, 400,000. Total, FVNA, goodwill, 0. Ganyan yung nangyayari kapag walang consideration na tinatransfer. Yung nilalagay mo dito sa consideration transferred, magkano yung nag-gain or magkano yung ending equity interest ni ABC ng acquirer. Kaya itong nilagay mo dito. And same rin dito sa NCI of the acquiree, magkano yun or ilan yung equity interest na at the end ang napunta sa NCI. Since 60% yung napunta kay ABC, yung natitira sa NCI na yan. Kaya 1 million times 400,000, hindi in-account yung previously held interest. Walang consideration ba't mo in-account? And second, total is 1 million, FVN is 1 million. So, walang goodwill. Ganyan kasimple. Ngayon, kapag kontrata naman, paano natin i-account? So, sa XYZ daw at si ABC nag-enter into contract kung saan sa ABC gain control, obtains control over XYZ. Walang consideration na transfer. So, and yung given dito is yung FVNA ni XYZ was 1 million. Tapos ang piniling pag-measure ng NCI was proportionate method, proportionate share. Compute for the goodwill daw. Consideration transferred. Uy, mali yata pagkalagay ko. Oh, mali. Kaya nasabi ko, bakit kinopy-paste ko? So, ignore nyo to. Ignore nyo yan. Parang ginawa sa inyo ng crush nyo. Ignore nyo. Then, gawin nyo tong 100%. Parang pagmamahal na binigay mo sa kanya. So, ganyan. Nakopy-paste ko ata yung maling table. So, sana yung... So, yan. Sana tayo? Oh, by contract alone. As you can see here, at the first place, walang ownership. Si ABC kay XYZ, walang binigay So, you can safely say na walang ownership, walang interest, walang equity interest si ABC, walang previously held interest si ABC kay XYZ. Nung nag-obtain siya ng control over XYZ. And with that, wala kang may lalagay na consideration transfer dito kasi walang ownership at the first place. So, gaya na sabi natin dito kanina, may mga contract alone, business combination with a transfer consideration, na kahit yung acquirer, walang equity interest at the first place, basta nag-gain siya ng control, kahit na wala siyang equity interest at the first place, basta yung sabi nag-gain siya ng control, like for that example, like that illustration, mako-consider pa rin yan as PFRS3 business combination. Kaya, ito, walang consideration transferred, walang ownership, di gaya dito, nag-gain siya ng additional 60% sa equity interest. Pero dito, wala, control lang. Kaya 0 dito. Kaya dito yung NCI, it was 100%. Kasi sa atin, kahit na 100% yan sa ibang investors, pero non-controlling sila Wala silang control. Nasa NCI sila. Kaya 100%, 1 million, charan, Zero goodwill. So yan yung business combination na walang consideration na tina-transfer. Kasi may mga ganyan talagang nangyayari. Napaka-dynamic kasi ng business combination or ng pag-conduct ng business. So, maganda na may ganyan na instead na purchase method yung term na ginagamit or yung yung method na ginagamit to account, ginawa na nila, ni-revise nila to acquisition method to account for that, to include that business combination na walang tina-transfer na consideration. So yan, napaka-basic, 'di ba? Expansion lang yan ng acquisition date. Ito, measurement period. Uy, sir, na-discuss nyo na rin yan, 'di ba? Sa last episode, sir. Oo. Basically, ang sinabi natin doon is yung measurement period, any changes or if at the basically yung summary nung na-discuss natin nung unang video about sa concept ng measurement period, if at the acquisition date yung fair value ng account, yung fair value ng isang asset o ng isang liability is hindi mo reliably ma-determine, maglalagay ka muna ng provisional amount. Then within that 1 year from the acquisition date, if there are any changes, if there are any new information in regards to that account, you will restate that provisional amount. I-restate mo yan to the actual amount na isasama mo or na dapat nilagay mo at the first place tong acquisition date. So yun, provisional amount, that's within 1 year, of course. So tawag doon, sanayin ako. Ito, expansion rin nung topic na yun. So if the initial accounting for a business combination is incomplete by the end of the reporting period in which the combination occurs, the acquirer shall report in its statement or sa financial statements yung provisional amount lang. Kasi hindi mo ma-determine ma-reliably determine. So provisional amounts muna. Para sa mga items na incomplete, for which the accounting is incomplete. Ngayon, if new information is obtained during the measurement period, na kung saan it provides evidence of facts and circumstances that existed, tandaan nyo, that existed as of the acquisition date, kasi hindi ka pa sure nung acquisition date, kaya provisional amount muna yung nilagay mo. Pero after further study, further investigation, na reliably determine mo na ito yung amount dapat nung acquisition date, hindi gagamitin mo yun. That if known, would have affected the measurement of the amounts recognized as of the date, the acquirer shall retrospectively adjust the provisional amounts recognized at the acquisition date. Tandaan nyo, that existed as of the acquisition date. Nag-e-exist na sa nung acquisition date, pero hindi mo lang sure, hindi mo pa alam. Now, after further investigation, nalaman mo na as of the acquisition date, nag-e-exist siya. Yun, retrospectively adjusted na yung provisional amount to its proper amount as of the acquisition date. Kung ano dapat yung nirecognize mo nung acquisition date. Tandaan nyo, circumstances that existed as of the acquisition date. Kahit na hindi mo alam na nag-e-exist nung acquisition date, basta nag-e-exist siya at that time, yun. Goods yun. Ngayon, measurement period. Gaano katagal, sir? Ay, alam niyo ang answer dyan. Sabi na natin last time pa eh. The measurement period shall not exceed 1 year from the acquisition date. Shall not exceed 1 year. So, kapag nag-exceed na isa sa 1 year, example, may nangyari nung acquisition date, may information ka na hindi alam nung acquisition date. Then, nalaman mo lang siya after the measurement period. After 1 year, hindi na siya under detail this topic. Ito, illustration. Provisional amounts, identifiable assets acquired. So, ito yung given. Noong October 1, 2021, ABC acquired all the identifiable assets and assumed all the liabilities to XIZ for 1 million. So, ito yung consideration transferred. October 1, 2021 was the acquisition date. On this date, XYZ's assets and liabilities have fair values of 1,600 and 900. So, Once, identifiable assets of 1.6, identifiable liabilities of 900. So, the FVNA, fair value of the net assets of the acquiree, ni XYZ was or is 700,000. So, anong information dito? Acquisition date, October 1, 2021. Consideration transferred, 1 million. FVNA, 700,000. Case 1. Identifiable assets recognized as provisional amount. So, ito. Anong case dito binigay? Anong senaryo? Ano daw? Nung the assets acquired include a building na kung saan inassign mo siya na provisional amount of 700,000 kasi the appraisal is not yet complete by the time ABC authorized for issue its December 31, 2021 financial statements. Kaya, hindi pa kayo sure magkano ata to? Provisional amount muna. Kasi October 1 October 1, 2021. Tapos kailangan mo nang gumawa ng FS noong December 31, 2021. So, naglagay ka muna ng 700,000 provisional amount. So, the building was tentatively assigned a 10-year useful life and was depreciated for 3 years. And was depreciated for 3 in 2021 using the straight line method. So, 10-year useful life niya, nag-depreciate na ng 3 years, straight line ang ginamit. Ngayon, ito additional information. Noong October 1, 2022, naka-receive si ABC ng valuation report para sa building na to. Napag-alaman nila na yung fair value ni building noong October 1, 2021, noong acquisition date, was 500,000 and a remaining useful life of 5 years. Tandaan nyo, noong October 1, 2021, hindi pa nila alam na 500,000 pala yung fair value ng building, na 5 years pala yung kanyang remaining useful life. Dahil hindi nila alam yun, nilagyan muna nila ng 700,000 at 10-year useful life na na-depreciate na ng 3. Kasi hindi pa nila to alam at as of the acquisition date. Ngayon, alam na nila na nung acquisition date, ito pala dapat yung value na nilagay nila. So, ano nang gagawin natin next? May requirements muna tayo. Anong measurement period? Paano dapat nila in-account yung new information? Ano yung goodwill or adjusted goodwill? And ano yung mga adjusting entries? So, ano yung measurement period? Period. October 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022. 1 year Yun ang sabi. Or if earlier, the date ABC obtains the information it was seeking about facts and circumstances that existed as of the acquisition date, or the date ABC learns that more information is not obtainable. Basta 1 year or if earlier, na kung saan on this first scenario, alam na ni ABC lahat ng aware na si ABC about all the information necessary in relation to the business combination. Reliably measured na lahat ng information. Or if ever, or dito sa mga second scenario, it was found out by ABC or learns na wala na silang magagawa para maka-obtain pa ng additional information. So, close case na. So, or earlier, if earlier. So, generally, kumbaga parang sinasabi nito, generally 1 year. Or, if earlier, na-obtain na ni ABC lahat ng necessary informations, lahat ng necessary facts and circumstances. Or if na-determine na ni ABC na wala na siyang magagawa, sumuko na siya, hindi na siya maka-obtain pa ng additional information. So, ito ang measurement period. Kasi, kung titingnan mo dito additional facts and circumstances, alam niya na lahat So, pwede niya nang ma-adjust. Basta, hindi lalampas ng 1 year. Kaya nga earlier. Ngayon, ano yung Rec B? Accounting. Paano niya daw i-account to? Yung provisional amount assigned to the building is retrospectively adjusted with a corresponding adjustment sa goodwill. Ngayon, kung matatandaan nyo yung na-discuss sa inyo nung intermediate accounting part 3, yung adjustment to yung Depende sa scenario ng transaction, depende sa nature ng transaction, sa accounts, kung retrospective adjustment ba or prospective adjustment. Now, tuwang-tuwa tayo pag prospective adjustment yan kasi hindi mo nagagalawin yung previous accounts. I-adjust mo lang as of the moment. Pero kapag retrospective adjustment yan, hala ka, babalikan mo yung mga previous account tapos may mga changes pa yan sa ibang account. Like baka nagbagong retained earnings yan. Baka nagano sa income summary, baka nagano yung sa accumulated depreciation or other accounts in related to that. Kaya tuwang-tuwa tayo kapag prospective adjustment. Ngayon, 2021, FSR restated including retrospective adjustment for or to depreciation expenses. Of course, bakit? Kasi ito na lang yung remaining useful life, 500 pa. Tapos ang ginamit mo, 700, 10 year, 3. Okay, may adjustment yan. Paano ang adjustment yan? Ito. Goodwill muna. Kasi Rexy. So, nung provisional, ito, basically, ito yung scenario. Consideration transfer 100. Excuse me po. Total of 1 million. Then, itong si FBNA, basically, it only pertains to the building. Kahit na, ito yung, kahit na 700, wait. Oh. Basically, this pertains to the, tawag doon? To the scenario na kung saan yung FBNA mo was 700,000. Or yung, was 700,000. Kung saan nabulol tayo dun. Oh, tama na. Oh, tama. Dito pala yung sa side. So, saan yun ako? 700,000 dito, 500k. Provisional amount, siyempre tinanggal mo na yan. Plus 500k plus 2 kaya pala nagugulo plus. Ay, ang dami kong typo. Wait, make sure natin para ba't ko na typo yan, kapatid? Oo, sabi na nga ba typo? Kaya nagtaka ako, saan to nanggaling? Dapat plus yan. Oh. Plus dapat to. Kasi ito dapat yung proper amount. Okay, ulitin natin. Typo. Kaya nagtaka ako, saan nanggaling to? Oh, yun, typo pala. Okay, so ganito. Nung in-account nila at the first place, since hindi pa nila alam yung proper value ng building, ito muna yung ginawa nila, provisional. Kung saan yung FBNA was 700,000. Ito pa, si 16 minus 900. Ngayon, nalaman na nila yung fair value ng building, yung tamang value ng building was 500,000. So, ito, adjusted na. I-adjust na nila. So, 1.6 minus that 700 provisional amount, kasi hindi dapat yan, 700. Dapat yan, 500. So, plus 500k fair value minus the identifiable liabilities of 9 million. Dapat yung FBNA was 500,000. Kaya dito sa adjusted, 500 na yung nilagay. So, with that, 1 million minus 500 proper FBNA, the right FBNA, the adjusted FBNA is equals to goodwill of 500,000. So, tumaas yung goodwill from 300,000 naging 500,000 na yan. So, paano natin in-account? Ito, journal entries, adjusting entries. So, goodwill, 500 minus 300k, nagkaroon kasi ng increase, 200,000 increase, so 200. And the value of the building, kasi ang ni-record mo was 700,000. Pero yung value lang pala niya was 500. Kaya binaba mo yung value ng fair value ng building, yung value ng building to 200,000. Credit. So debit 200 sa goodwill, credit kay building 200. Ngayon, sabi dito, may mga kailangan kang adjustments na gawin. Kasi iba yung pag-account mo sa depreciation So with that, ganito. Depreciation recognized 700k divided by 10 years, useful life. Yan yung provisional. Ito yung provisional part. And yung nagagamit pa lang, tama na. And yung nangyayari pa lang, kasi nalaman mo siya at mata ko. Kasi nung nirecord mo siya for the December 31, 2021 was 3 months. Bakit? Tingnan nyo. October 1, 2021 yung acquisition date. Doon mo nakuha yung value ng building. Then, after 3 months, kailangan mo nang i-record yan. So, yung building na yan, din-depreciate mo na yan for the 3 months nung December 30, 2021 financial statements. Na-depreciate na yan ng 3 months. Kaya nakalagay dito 3/12 kasi kailangan mong ayusin yan. Bakit? Kasi, kung matatandaan nyo, kapag nag-depreciate yung building, kaya kapag ina-account mo yung depreciation expense yan, saan mo pinapartner? Kay accumulated depreciation. Doon mo siya pinapartner. So, and as we know, habang nandyan yung building na yan, yung si accumulated depreciation, nakadikit yan dyan. So, permanent yan siya. So, kailangan ayusin mo yun. Kailangan magkaroon ka ng adjustment. So, ito, 700K, 10-year useful life. Then, 3 months from October 1, 2021 to December 31, 2021, nag-depreciate siya. Yung depreciation na yun was 17,500. Pero nung nalaman mo na yung October 1, 2021, 500K lang pala yung kanyang fair value, na 5 years lang pala yung kanyang useful life, dapat ito yung proper account na ginamit mo. So, kailangan mo mag-adjust. Times 3 divided by 12 kasi 3 months lang, October to December. So, yung proper depreciation, yung should be depreciation was 25,000. Ang ni-record mo, 17,500 lang. So, kailangan may additional depreciation expense for 2021 which is 7,500. Kailangan mong idagdag yan. Na sir, di ba ang expense kino-close yan? Hindi yan sa permanent account. Nominal lang yan siya. So, paano namin yan i-adjust, sir? Balikan nyo yung napag-aralan nyo nung Intermediate Accounting Part 3. Pagdating sa adjustments, retrospective adjustments. Ito na. Ganito mo siya i-adjust. Tandaan nyo, saan nyo kino-close yung Saan nyo kino-close yung expense? Simple accounting muna tayo. Saan nyo kino-close yung expense? Sa income summary. Saan nyo kino-close yung income summary? Sa retained earnings. So, at the end, nagkaroon niya ng effect sa retained earnings. Kasi ang expense na yan, binababa niya yan yung retained earnings. Kasi expense binababa niya yan. So, with that, mali yung pagkababa mo. Mali yung pagkababa mo. Kulang yung pagkababa mo kay retained earnings. Kasi dapat, 25,000 yung binawas mo. 17,500 lang yung ni-record mo. So, yung 7,500, ibawas mo pa yung kay retained earnings. Kaya, debit retained earnings of 7,500. Yun. Nabawasan si retained earnings. Kulang Kulang yung binawas mo. And second, credit kay accumulated depreciation of 7,500. Bakit? Gaya ng sabi ko, as we know, itong si accumulated depreciation, permanent yan. Nakadikit yan kay building. Nakadikit yan sa asset. Sa property. Sa building, nakadikit yan. Permanent yan. As long as nandyan yung building, nandyan si accumulated depreciation. Hindi yan nawawala. Kaya, tapos yung ginawa mo, yung ni-record mong depreciation was only 17,500. Pero dapat 25,000 pala. So, kailangan mong dagdagan yung accumulated depreciation mo para maging proper yung representation ng pag-account sa building. Kaya, debit 7,500, credit accumulated depreciation 7,500. So, yan yung logic niyan. Yan yung pag-solve dyan. Ngayon, okay, case number 2. Paano yan? Anong senaryo? Unrecorded identifiable asset acquired. Ito, unrecorded. Kasi dito, identifiable asset recognized as provisional amount. Ito, alam mo at the first place na may building. Makita mo yung building yan, building. Kasama dapat yan. Dito, patent siya Nalalaman mo lang yan. May mga patent kasi na hindi na-record. Lalo na discussion natin last time. Yung may mga unrecorded intangible assets na kung saan kapag PFRS 3 na, i-business combination mo na siya, since identifiable siya, isasama mo. this is such a case, si unrecorded patent. Kaya unrecorded identifiable asset acquired. So ano daw nangyari? Noong July 1, 2022, ABC obtained new information. So tandaan nyo, within the measurement period pa yan. Kasi ang measurement period natin was October 1, 2021 to September 30. Oh, tama ba? O September 30, 2022. 1 year. Nag-obtain daw ng new information si ABC na si XYZ may unrecorded patent which was not known noong October 21. So, eto. It already existed noong October 1, 2021. Wala lang silang idea. So, ito, new information. Now, the patent has a fair value of 100,000 and a remaining useful life of 4 years as of October 1, 2021. So, ito, may patent eh. Unrecorded nga lang. Since unrecorded siya, wala silang idea. Pero upon further investigation, they were able to obtain new information na may patent pala. That was already existing nung acquisition date. So, with that in mind, kailangan isama yan sa business combination. So, itong requirement natin. Compute for the adjusted goodwill and provide the adjusting entries. So, same lang sa ginawa natin dito. Consideration transferred, 1 million. 1 million. Ito yung unadjusted. Pero as you can see, hindi na provisional yung ginamit kasi by this time, wala pang idea eh. Wala kang binigyan ng provisional amount kasi at the first place, wala kang idea na nung acquisition date pala, meron palang unrecorded patent. So yan, goodwill 300. Ngayon, dito, sa part na to, may idea ka na, uy, meron pala kayong patent na hindi ni-record. Na identifiable pala yan nung October 1, nung acquisition date. Dapat sinama pala. So, dito na siya, sinama na siya. Happy. So, ito yung given, di ba? 1.6 minus identifiable asset of 1.6 minus 0.9. Identifiable liabilities, 700. Ito yun. Ngayon, nalaman mo nang may patent pala, unrecorded. So, yawa na yun. Bakit minus na naman nilagay ko? Add to eh. Asset yan eh. Ay, nako. So, anyways, 1.6 identifiable assets that was given plus the unrecorded identifiable asset which is the patent 100k plus 100k minus the identifiable liabilities. So dapat yung proper amount was hindi 800 liters. 800k dapat yan. 800,000. Ay nako. So 800k dapat yung fair value of the net assets ni acquiree. So with that, ilalagay mo yung 800 dito. So yun, ito na yung adjusted amount. Yung cost of investment was 1 million minus the adjusted FB&A of 800,000. Yung goodwill mo dapat was 200,000. So adjusting entries. Now with this, okay. Mali. Ayaw. Hala ko man. Kinapi. Putik. Ay, naku. Mali ang kinapi-paste natin, kapatid. Mali ang kinapi-paste natin. Ayaw. So, ay. Bakit tong kinapi-paste? Bulaw man ako nung ginawa ko to. So, anyways, patent to. Yawa man to. Bakit? And goodwill to. So, yan. Ito, para sa patent na 100 na unrecorded pero identifiable. 100. Then ito, para sa decrease sa goodwill na 100 din. 300,000 minus 200,000, 100. Ito naman, make sure ko tama pagkalagay ko ng 6 to 50 na yun. Yup, tama. Ito naman, for the, ito naman, yung nangyari dito, 6 to 50 kay retained earnings, accumulated depreciation of 6 to 50 rin. Same lang sa logic dito. Same lang sa logic dito. Or not necessarily sa part na to. Kasi ganito. Yung retained earnings mo, gaya na sabi ko kanina, kinulang ka sa Kinulang ka sa pag-account ng depreciation expense. Bakit? May unrecorded patent ka of 100. Ang patent, as we know, dinidepreciate natin yan. Which in this case, remaining useful life of 4 years noong October 1. So, 100K divided by 4. And since 3 months yun, kay October to December, 3/12. Yan dapat yung nangyari dapat yan. Kasi tawag doon. Kasi at the first place, nung nag-business combination kayo, wala kayong idea na may unrecorded patent pala. Pero nung after nag-obtain kayo ng new information, uy, may patent pala. Uy, dinidepreciate pa ang patent. Uy, nagkamali tayo sa pag-record ng nagkulang tayo sa pag-record ng retained earnings. So, in order to fix that, nagkaroon ng restatement retrospectively. In this case, kinulang kayo ng pag-account sa depreciation expense. And as we know, depreciation expense affects income summary. And income summary is close to retained earnings. And as we know, expenses decreases retained earnings per se. So, since this is an expense, depreciation expense to be specific, bawas sa retained earnings. And ito, accumulated depreciation, same logic rin, kadikit siya ng asset, and permanent siya as long as the asset is there, kailangan siyang i-account. Kinulang ka sa pag-record or hindi mo lang na-record at the first place. Kasi wala kang idea na may patent pala. So ito, pangatlong scenario, case number 3. Information obtained beyond the measurement period. Ito, lumampas daw Lumampas. Yung pusa ko maingay sa likod. So ito, information obtained beyond the measurement period. Ibig sabihin, lumampas na even though that information existed during the acquisition date, pero nalaman mo na siya after 1 year, beyond 1 year, beyond the measurement period, ano na mangyayari? Ito, illustration. On November 1, 2022, as we can see, the measurement period was from October 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022. Now, itong November 1, 2022, lumampas ka na ng September, October, November. Lumampas ka na ng 1 month sa measurement period. Ano nangyari that time? ABC's auditors discovered that a patent with fair value of 100,000 was erroneously omitted. Hindi nasama from the valuation listing on October 1, 2021, which is the acquisition date. Now, the patent has a fair value of 100 and remaining useful life of 4 years as of October 1, 2021. So, may patent daw na hindi nasama sa valuation listing nung acquisition date. Pero nalaman lang nila yan, na-discover lang nila yan, noong November 1, 2022, which is 1 month after the measurement period. So, anong gagawin? Anong mangyayari? How should ABC account to the new information obtained on November 1, 2020? So, in this case, under Pass 8, as correction to prior period error, retrospective restatement, new info was obtained after the measurement period. So, hindi na PFRS 3 yung mag-govern over this scenario. Lumampas ka na sa measurement period Hindi na PFRS 3 yan. Pass 8 na yan. Correction of prior period error. Kung matatandaan nyo, Intermediate Accounting, Part 3. So, corrective entries on the 2021 FS. So, pareho lang, di ba? Patent 100, Goodwill 100, RE 100, 40. Sir, pareho lang mga amount Sir, pareho lang ang amount Sir, pareho lang ang amount Kung mapapansin nyo, pareho lang ang amount. Pero iba na yung nature niyan. Iba na yung concept behind that. Yung concept behind this, PFRS 3, measurement period. The concept behind this, lumampas ka na ng measurement period, hindi na PFRS 3 yung mag-govern, but rather PAS 8, correction of prior period errors. So, yun lang. provisional amounts. Ngayon, may example pa pala para mas maintindihan natin lalo. Noong October 1, ito, yung provisional amount dito, yung consideration transferred. Yung provisional amount dito is yung consideration na transfer ni acquirer to acquiree. So, ano yun? Ito yung information. Noong October 1, 2021, ABC Co., an unlisted entity, issued 10,000 shares na may 5 peso par value in exchange for all the identifiable assets and liabilities of XYZ. So as you can see, hindi siya stock acquisition but rather asset acquisition. Kasing wording, for all the identifiable assets and liabilities of XYZ. Asset acquisition yan. Ano siya ng 10,000, 5 pesos par value. Then take note, unlisted entity siya. So hindi siya publicly listed, unlisted siya, private company. Now, ito yung mga additional information nung acquisition date. The share issued were assigned a provisional amount of 100 pesos per share. Bakit? Kasi since unlisted entity siya, private siya, limited lang yung data in regards to the fair value of the shares. Kasi kung publicly listed yan, tingin ka lang sa stock market, makikita mo na yung fair value ng shares. Dito, unlisted entity siya. Private yan. Mahirap ma-determine yung fair value per share. Kaya, provisional amount muna yung nilagay nila, which is 100 pesos per share. Now, the fair values of some of the assets acquired are not readily determinable. So, hindi pa cannot be reliably measured muna. So, provisional amount muna yung ibibigay nila, which is 700,000 that was assigned, and with that information, a provisional amount of 700,000 was assigned to XYZ net identifiable assets. So, yung FBNA ni XYZ, yung fair value of the net assets of the acquiree, provisional amount lang in the amount of 700,000. So, yun lang. Ngayon, next. Information acquired after the or obtained after the acquisition date. Ito on acquisition date Ito after the acquisition date, yung nagbigayan na sila ng provisional amounts. Noong April 1, 2022, new information was obtained indicating that on October 1, 2021, so this information, these facts and circumstances were already existing noong October 1, 2021, noong acquisition date. Pero wala lang silang idea. Pero noong April 1, 2022, nalaman na nila na may ganun pala nung acquisition date. And tandaan nyo, April 1, 2022 is within the measurement period. Kasi October 1, 2021 pa na, ilang months pa lang yan. Within the measurement period pa to siya. So ito daw, nung fair value daw ng shares was 110,000 per share. Oopsie daisy. Bakit? Kung makikita nyo, yung provisional amount na nilagay nila was 100 per share. Pero nalaman nila na yung totoong amount pala, na yung fair value pala was 110 pesos per share. Kinulang sila ng 10. And, ito pa, yung fair value ng FBNA ni XYZ was 900,000. Kinulang na naman sila ng 200,000 kasi ang nirecord lang nila was a provisional amount of 700,000. Halaka, kinulang. So, may adjustment yan, kapatid. Ito, on July 1, 2022, two competitors of ABC have also merged. This led ABC to believe that the merger with XYZ is not as profitable as expected. So, ABC estimates that the valuation of the consideration transferred and XYZ net identifiable assets should have been 900,000 and 400,000. So, dito sabi dito, dapat daw yung consideration transferred was 900,000 lang. And yung FBNA and XYZ should be 400,000 lang. Now, do you think this will affect the do you think this will affect the tawag doon? What happened during the acquisition date? Do you think this will affect or will produce adjustments? Tingnan natin. Kung makikita nyo, computed adjusted goodwill. Itong requirement. Or, itong requirement. Compute for the adjusted goodwill. So, as you can see here, consideration transferred 1 million. Kasi, 10,000 times 100 pesos is 1 million pesos. So, yan yung provisional amount. Then, yung FBNA na binigay dito is also a provisional amount of 700,000. Ito na yon. So, ang goodwill na record nila at the first place was 300,000. Pero, noong April 1, 2022, napagalaman nila or they were able to obtain new information in regards to what happened during or nung October 1, 2021 acquisition date. Na dapat instead of 110 pesos per share, it should be 110 pesos per share for the fair values of the share. And instead of it being 700,000 for the FBNA, it should be 900,000. So adjustments are to be made. And in this case, ito na yung adjustments. Kung makita nyo, 10,000 shares times the should be fair value of the shares, which is 110,000 based on the April 1, 2022 info. So, 1,100,000 yan. Adjusted should be. Dapat yan yung ni-record. Since walang NCI, kasi, ano yan kasi asset acquisition yan. Walang NCI. Tandaan nyo for all the identifiable assets and liabilities. So, walang NCI dyan, walang previously held interest. So, ang cost of investment or the total was 1,100,000. Saan yun? Then, the FBNA, ang provisional nilagay nila 700. Pero, the should be amount was or is 900,000. So, 1,100,000 minus 900,000. Ang dapat na goodwill or the adjusted goodwill or the should be goodwill was 200,000. So, as we can see, adjustments. Kung i-adjust pa natin yan, ay, na-adjust na pala. Kung i-adjust pa natin yan, the 900,000 is based on the new info. Okay, gaya na sabi natin. Ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo, wala tayong ginawa nung July 1, 2022. Yung events nung July 1, 2022. In-ignore natin. Gaya ng ginawa sa'yo ng crush mo. Nung chinat mo siya. Bakit natin in-ignore? Anong labot nito nung October 1, 2021? Anong labot nito? O anong importance ito? Or anong say nito nung nangyaring acquisition date nung October 1, 2021? This does not relate to the circumstances, to the facts surrounding the business combination that occurred nung October 1, 2021. Wala tong labot. Hence, wala kang gagawin dito in relation to the acquisition date. Kasi, ano to? Anong sense yan? Wala. Hindi siya related. Hence, ignore natin yan. Ignore the July 1 event. Kasi, ulitin natin, wala tong sense Okay. Nag-merge sila ng July 1, 2022. Tapos naisip mo, hindi profitable yung yung business combination ko with XYZ, yung pag-acquire ko sa kanya. So, wala, hindi siya relate. Wala sa KEBS sa nangyaring business combination noong October 1, 2021. Hence, this should be ignored. Ito, next topic or next additional concepts tayo. Determining what is part of business combination transaction. So, additional notes lang. A transaction that is arranged primarily for the benefit of the acquirer or the combined entity rather than primarily for the benefit of the acquiree or its former owners before the business combination is likely to be a separate transactions. So, for the benefit of the acquirer or the combined entity. Separate transaction. Thus, the portion of the transaction price is excluded from the consideration transferred when applying the acquisition method. So, tandaan yan. Ngayon, ito, kung i-open nyo yung notes ni Zeus, naglagay pa siya ng mga additional additional topics to be discussed, gaya ng reacquired rights, settlement of pre-existing relationship. Ngayon, pagdating sa board exam, or kahit sa review man lang, sa proper review sa Manila, hindi nyo yan madadaanan. Kasi, hindi yan sinasama. Ganun lang yung kasimple. Pero of course, this is an undergrad subject. Didiscuss natin yan para tumibay yung foundation nyo sa topic. Retention, 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 foundation, 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 foundation. Ngayon, reacquired rights. Ano to siya? Now, it is a right that an acquirer has previously granted to acquiree that is reacquired as a result of a business combination that is recognized as an intangible asset separately from goodwill. So, ito daw yung for example, meron kang patent na nilicense mo for the acquiree. Tapos, yun, nilicense mo na, ginamit-gamit yan na. Then at the end, nag-decide ka na, gusto ko itong i-acquire sa acquiree. So, business combination. So, na-reacquire mo yung pag-license mo sa kanya. So, some examples. Right to use the acquirer's intangible assets as a trade name under franchise agreement and the right to use the acquirer's technology under technology license agreement. So, kumbaga, pinagamit mo sa kanya, tapos yung gumagamit, in-acquire mo, parang bumalik lang sa'yo. So, yun yung reacquired rights. So, ito, theories lang natin dito, pero sa books ni Zeus may samples, pero mabubuang lang kayo eh. Baka ma-discuss rin yan. Baka ma-discuss. Maano rin yan sa problems. So, next, additional settlement or additional notes is the settlement of pre-existing relationship prior to business combination. The acquirer may have pre-existing relationship gaya ng contractual, vendor-customer, licensor-licensee, franchisor-franchisee. Now, a pre-existing relationship daw may be a contract that the acquirer recognized as a reacquired right. So, pwede rin yun. Now, yung non-contractual, yung plaintiff-dependent and on a pending lawsuit. Like for example, kinasuhan mo siya for intellectual property theft. Tapos at the end, inacquire mo siya. O yun. Meron kayong non-contractual settlement, non-contractual relationship before your business combination. Kasi plaintiff and defendant. Ngayon, if a pre-existing relationship is settled due to the business combination, so nagkaayos daw kayo or nagkaroon kayo ng settlement, the acquirer recognizes a settlement gain or loss that is to be measured as follows. At the lower of 1 and 2 below if the pre-existing relationship is contractual. So, kapag contractual daw yung pre-existing relationship, vendor ka, tapos siya customer, licensor ka, tapos sa licensee, yung lower daw sa dalawang to. Kapag contractual yung pre-existing relationship, So, the amount by which the contract is favorable or unfavorable from the acquirer's perspective when compared with market terms. So, kung matatandaan nyo yan, parang yan yung discussion natin sa, yung sa lessor lessee. Yung sa, sa operating lease, yung from the previous video. And second, or any settlement amount stated in the contract that is available to the counterparty to which the contract is unfavorable. Now, if this is less than the amount nito, the difference is included as part of the business combination accounting. So, either of the two. Not necessarily either of the two, kung sino yung lower sa kanilang dalawa. Kapag contractual yung pre-existing relationship. And lastly, kapag non-contractual naman, gaya nito, plaintiff and defendant, nagkasuhan kayo sa isa't isa, at fair value yung pag-measure sa kanya. Now, the settlement gain or loss is adjusted for the recognition of any related assets or liabilities that the acquirer has previously recognized. Ito, narating na tayo sa last part ng discussion. The subsequent measurement and accounting. 4 to sila, class. Basahin mo natin. Now, generally, acquired assets and assumed liabilities, yung mga in-acquired na assets, yung mga in-assume na liabilities, and yung mga equities na in-issue. Like for example, it's a share-to-share transfer, share-to-share consideration of the acquirer in a business combination are accounted under their respective standards. Accounted under the respective standards. So, kapag cash yan, di cash. Kapag inventory yung inano mo, di PS2. Kapag equity, di kung ano man sa sa consideration na yun. Kapag PPE, di past 16 under their respective standards. Except for these 4. Ito, under the respective standard, general rule. Ito yung exception. For the reacquired rights, indemnification of assets, contingent liabilities, and contingent consideration, i-account mo siya under PFRS 3, business combination. Yan yung exception dito. So, si reacquired rights, recognized as intangible assets that are amortized over the remaining term of the related contract. Yung indemnification of assets naman are measured on the same basis as the indemnified item, subject to assessment of collectibility for indemnification assets not measured at fair value. So if you can remember, indemnification assets, ito yung mga assets na kung saan, basically what will happen is that, ito for example, you acquired someone na may lupa, then yung lupa na yon contested yung lupa na yon, hindi siya 100% sure na pagmamayari niya yon, then at the end nawala yung lupa, napunta sa iba due to a litigation. So yung lupa na yon, you can consider that as yung pag-reimburse mo sa lupa na yon, it will be considered as indemnification asset. Kaya nakita nyo dito, are measured on the same basis as the indemnified item, the lupa, the land, subject to assessments of collectability for indemnification assets not measured at fair value. Kasi walang kasiguraduhan sa ownership, sa control over the assets. So, kailangan mong paghandaan yung pag-reimburse dyan. Indemnify. Yun yung keyword dun. Indemnify. So, i-account mo siya under PFRS 3. Ito, contingent liabilities. Ito, matatandaan nyo to. Recognized in BUSCOM, business combinations, are measured at the higher of the amount that would be recognized, o kung sinong mata sa kanilang dalawa. Recognized by applying past 37. Kung matatandaan nyo, past 37 is provisions, contingent assets, and contingent liabilities. And the amount initially recognized less if appropriate cumulative amount of income recognized in accordance with PFRS 15, revenue from contracts with customers. So, higher sa dalawang to for contingent liabilities. Now, for contingent considerations, ito medyo mahaba yung discussion natin dito. For the remaining parts of this topic, it is the additional consideration for a business combination that the acquirer agrees to provide to the acquiree upon the happening of a contingency. Contingency, ibig sabihin, it is a condition na walang kasiguraduhan. Contingency is an existing unresolved condition that will be resolved by the occurrence or non-occurrence of a possible future event, such as reaching the sales quota, reaching the amount or reaching the target for value of the shares, or reaching the being included in the top 10 performing businesses. Yun, mga contingent yun, mga contingencies yun. Now, the initial recognition, fair value at acquisition date, and the obligation to pay is classified as either a liability or equity. So, ganyan yung pag-account mo kay contingent consideration. For this initial recognition, for the subsequent measurement naman niya, change if the fair value due to the additional information during the measurement period accounted for a retrospective adjustment. If change results from unrelated matter are not measurement period adjustments, but rather, pagdating dito, changes in fair value that are not measurement period are accounted for. Nilagay ko na saan agad dito, iniba pa yung wording. Anyways, kapag yung changes na yon is unrelated to the matter, ito yung mangyayari. If at the first place, classify mo sa equity, kasi makikita nyo dito, i-measure mo sa fair value, Tapos either liability or equity. Ngayon, kapag yung changes sa fair value is not measurement period are accounted either kapag classified as equity, not remeasured, and its subsequent settlement is accounted for within the equity. Paano yan? May sample tayo mamaya. Then it is classified as an asset or liability at fair value. Changes in account is accounted under profit or loss. So yan, may example yan tayo mamaya. Tandaan nyo. Kapag equity, hindi siya nire-remeasure, and yung subsequent settlement within the equity itself. Kapag assets or liability at fair value, profit or loss ang pag-account sa changes. Ito, sa example. On January 1, 2021, ABC ko, tandaan nyo, contingent consideration classified as equity to, equity. So, on January 1 daw, 2021, ABC ko issued 10,000 shares with par value of 10 per share and fair value of 100 per share. So, matatandaan nyo na, tandaan nyo, fair value at acquisition date. So, 100 yung fair value per share. In exchange for all the assets and liabilities of XYZ. So, from that alone, you can say that it is a asset acquisition. Asset acquisition, hindi siya stock acquisition. Ha, sir? Paano yung maging asset acquisition? Stock yung inisyo. Tandaan nyo, ang nire-refer ng asset and stock acquisition is kapag ano yung binili mo. Kapag ang binili mo is yung assets and liabilities ng acquiree, asset acquisition yan. Or net asset acquisition kung gusto yung ganung word. Pero kapag equity interest lang yung binili mo sa acquiree, yung like for example, 75 ownership interest or 80% ownership interest, yun, stock acquisition yun. Kapag assets and liabilities ang binili mo, asset acquisition or net asset acquisition. Kapag ownership interest lang, equity interest ang binili mo, to gain control, kumbaga, edi stock acquisition yun. Continuing, XYZ's assets and liabilities have fair value of 1,600 and 900, so yung FBNA dito is 700. Now, in addition to this, ABC agrees to issue additional 1,000 shares. O ito na, may contingent clause ang tawag dyan. Sabi ni ABC, o sige, mag-i-issue ako ng additional 1,000 shares. Ibibigay ko to sa'yo, to the former owners of XYZ. Upon one condition lang. If the market price of ABC shares increased to 120 pesos per share by December 31, 2021, yun, kapag nangyari yan, bibigyan kita yung mga owners ng additional 1,000 shares. On top of that, 10,000. On top of that, 10,000. So, parang bonus ba siya? Bonus. So, ito, contingent clause to. Tawag dito. Sa mga kontrata, contingent clause yan. Then, the fair value of the contingent consideration as of January 1, 2021, no acquisition date, is 90,000 based on the consideration of the vesting conditions. So, nung in-assess nila yung value, ng ng contingent consideration na yan, 90,000 daw for yung fair value niya. So, ang tanong, or ang requirement is compute for the goodwill. So, with that, ito ang solution niya. So, as you can see, consideration transferred, yung 1 million, which is 10,000 shares times 100, the per value per share, 1 million yan, plus the 90,000 the fair value of the contingent consideration. So, 1 million, 90,000. Yan yung consideration transferred. Sinama mo yung contingent consideration. Walang NCI, wala rin PHI, walang NCI kasi asset acquisition yan eh. Lahat kinain mo. Then, the fair value, the FBNA, 700,000. Ito yan. As usual. So, ang goodwill mo dito is 390,000. Basic, no sweat. And ito yung kanyang journal entries. So, identifiable assets acquired, tandaan nyo, asset acquisition to, 1.6. Identifiable liabilities assumed, 900,000. The goodwill, debit, 390. And in connection with that, the issuance of the shares. Siyempre, shares ang pinambayad mo for the business combination. So, share capital, the ordinary share capital, voting rights siguro, 10,000 times the par value of 10. Par value of 10, which is 100,000. Ngayon, kung makikita nyo dito, sineparate yung share. Kaya pala naging sensitive. Sineparate dito yung dalawa eh. Share premium and share premium for the contingent consideration. Sineparate siya eh. Kasi kailangan mo tong i-account. See, 90,000. And i-account mo siya under share premium. So, as you can see, 90 yung tapos dito, 900 na lang. Kasi ang ginawa mo, 10,000 times the difference of the fair value, which is 100 and 10 pesos. So, 900,000 yung share premium and yung share premium contingent consideration, 90 na lang. Ngayon, may cases tayo, may scenario. Anong unang scenario? The market price of ABC share on December 31, 2021 is 120. Diyos ko, na-reach nila or na-achieve nila yung goal ng contingent clause na yung share ni ABC mag-increase to 120 per share. Okay, with that, i-grant ni ABC yung contingent consideration. So, paano niya yung gagawin? Dito, provide the journal entries. Ito, na-settle yung contingent consideration noong January 15, 2022. So, noong December 31, 2021, wala kang gagawin. Kasi, wala naman nangyari. Walang transaction. Kasi sinettle nyo pa noong January 15, 2022. So, with that, i-close mo na yung share premium contingent consideration. Kasi, wala na siyang labot sa life. I-reclassify mo na siya into these two, the share capital and the share premium. Na itong share capital, since provided naman na 1,000 yung additional shares na ibibigay, tapos yung par value per share was 10 pesos. So, 1,000 times 10, the share capital na i-issue mo additional on top of that 10,000 shares. To 10,000 pesos. Ngayon, itong si share premium, squeeze mo to. Squeeze mo to. Kasi, saan mo kukunin yung Saan mo kukunin yung additional? Paano mo hanapin? Squeeze mo na lang. Kasi, yung value nito, nakadetermine or is determined by this. Kung anong ni-record mo na contingent consideration. Kasi, the fair value of the contingent consideration as of January 1, 2021 is 90 based on the consideration of the vesting conditions. So, ito yung basis ng pag-value mo. Walang changes pa. Wala pang changes. So, ito yun. So, squeeze mo yan. Now, a contingent consideration that is classified as equity is not remeasured and its subsequent settlement is accounted for within equity. O, ito na yun. Accounted within equity. Changes in the fair value that are not measurement period are accounted either not remeasured and its subsequent settlement is accounted within equity. Equity to, di ba? Kasi share premium yan eh. Tapos ang consideration is shares. So, sa equity mo siya nilalagay. Kasi ang consideration mo ay equity rin. So, yun. Ngayon, pumunta naman tayo kapag asset or liability yan at fair value. I-account mo yung changes niya under profit or loss. Oy, may additional example pa pala. So, before tayo pumunta before tayo pumunta as classified as na asset or liability, mayroon pa palang second scenario. Kaya pala, di naman ilalagay ang case number 1 kung walang case number 2. Kalimutan natin. So, the market price of ABC share on December 31, 2021 is 90. Hala ka, Diyos ko. Hindi na-achieve. Bumaba pa lalo. Kasi ang target was 120. Then at that time, 100 yung fair value. mas bumaba pa yung shares ni ABC. Naging 90. Hala ka. So, anong mangyayari? Provide the journal entries. Which is this one. December 31, 2021. Tandaan nyo dito, nangyari dito, pero yung settlement nung January 15 pa. Kaya walang entrada, walang entry nung December 31. Nung January 15 pa sila. Pero dito, since nakita nyo na, yung contingent nyo is hindi na achieve, kumbaga. Kasi nung December 31, 2021, 90 eh. Hindi na reach yung 120. So, alam nyo na, at that time pa lang, wala nang chance. So, i-close nyo na. Nung December 31, 2021 pa lang. Kasi dito, tandaan nyo, nag-agree sila ng settlement on January 15. Kaya nung January 15 pa nila record. Pero dito, alam nyo na, wala na mangyayari. Bigo na. December 31 pa lang, ni-record na nila. Nag-reclassification lang sila. Regardless of whether the vesting condition is met, the amount recognized in equity for contingent consideration remains in equity. However, this does not preclude an entity from transferring amounts within equity. Like this one, reclassification of between equity accounts. So, ano man mangyari, it remains in the equity. Tandaan nyo, kahit naman mangyari, whether ma-meet man nila yung contingent consideration or not, kapag it is classified as equity at the first place, hindi siya lalabas ng equity. Any changes sa equity lang siya. Between equity accounts lang. Like this one, na-achieve yung condition, changes lang between equity accounts. This one, hindi na-achieve yung condition, changes rin between equity accounts. Reclassification lang. So, clinose nila yung share premium contingent consideration na 90, binalik nila sa share premium of 90. So, yan. Ngayon, pumunta naman tayo. Kapag yung contingent consideration, kasi nung illustration 1, the contingent consideration was classified as an asset. As an equity. Now, this time, paano pag liability? Paano natin siya i-account? Tatandaan nyo, profit or loss. Now, anyways, ang sabi dito, noong January 1, 2021, so, acquisition date to. Si ABC daw, in-acquire ang lahat ng assets and liabilities sa XYZ. So, asset acquisition. For 1 million pesos, consideration transferred. Pero, not the final consideration transferred. Kasi may contingent liability pa yan. Contingent consideration pa yan. Now, sa XYZ's assets and liabilities have fair value of 1,900. So, FVNA is 700,000. Now, ABC agrees to pay additional cash equal to 10%. So, ito na. Contingent clause na. Contingent clause. ABC agrees to pay additional cash equal to 10% of the 2021 year-end profit that exceeds 400,000. So, ang sabi niya, sige, any profits or the amount that exceeds 400,000, 10% of that, additional cash payment ko sa'yo. Yun yung contingent clause nila. 10% of the profit that exceeds 400,000. Additional payment yan ni ABC to XYZ. Now, XYZ historically has reported profits of 300 to 400 each year. The fair value of the contingent consideration as of January 1, 2021 is 10,000 pesos. Based on assessments of the expected level of profits for the year as well as forecasts, plans, and industry needs. So, pinag-aralan nila, 10,000 pesos daw yung fair value ng contingent consideration na to. So, basically, for them, so kung i-apply natin ng logic and common sense natin, itong 10,000 na to, i-gross up mo siya by 10%. So, which is 100,000. When yung 100,000 na yon is the profit that exceeds 400,000. So, we can say na 500,000 yung expected profit na forecast nila. Kasi Example, 500,000 yung expected profit and 400,000 yung yung threshold. So 500 minus 400, it's 100. Then additional cash payment equal to 10% that exceeds. So 10% times 100 is 10,000. So yan, logic lang. Ngayon, ang hinahanap, compute for the goodwill. Solution. Okay. Contingent transfer. Consideration transferred, 1 million given. Pero hindi yung final consideration. Mayroon ka pang 10K contingent consideration as that is classified as a liability. And yung 10K na yan ang galing sa pag-aaral, sa forecast nila, sa expected level of profits. Yan yung fair value. So, 1 million plus 10, 1 million 10,000, walang NCI, walang PHI. Total, 1 million 10,000, FB&A given. So, ang goodwill mo, 310,000. Ito ang journal entry niya. Since this is an asset acquisition, you will acquire the asset, the identifiable asset, in the amount of 1,600. Assume the identifiable liabilities, 900. May goodwill ka pang, 310. And since nag-incur ka ng contingent consideration that is classified as a liability, tapos na-determine nyo na yung fair value niya is 10,000, i-record mo din yan. Liability for contingent consideration in the amount of 10,000 and the cash payment na ginawa mo in the amount of 1 million. Basic. Ngayon, may cases to. Now, the profit for the year is 550,000. Uy, na-reach nila or sumobra pa yung kanilang expected or forecasted profit. 550,000. So, lumampas ng threshold of 400,000. Magkano yung nilampas? 150,000. So, the contingent consideration is settled on January 15, 2022. Provide for the journal entries. Provide for the journal entries. So, ito yun, unrealized profit or loss and liability for contingent consideration. So, as you can see here, may difference kay sa classified as equity. Sa classified as equity, kahit na yung settlement is is January 15 pa, by December 31, ni-record na nila agad. Now, the reasoning behind that, I guess, is if ma-observe nyo yung standards natin, accounting standards natin, napaka-stricto niyan sa reporting in terms of liabilities. Kung mapapansin nyo, napaka-stricto pagdating sa reporting of liabilities. Dapat completos recados yan. Completos recados. Recado yan. Napaka-stricto. So, kahit na January 15 pa yung settlement nila, by December 31, record na nila yan agad. Kasi mapapansin nyo, stricto sa liabilities yung standards natin. Mas stricto siya. Stricto sa lahat, pero mapapansin nyo, mas stricto sa liabilities. Bakit? Kasi ang liabilities kasi, yung konsepto ng utang ba? Konsepto ng utang. Kaya yung perception dyan, medyo mas stricto. So, anyways, konting logical reasoning lang. Unrealized loss, profit or loss ratio. Bakit to? Tingnan nyo dito sa baba. Yung carrying amount of contingent consideration was 10,000. Yan yung ni-record mo eh. Pero, yung nangyari was 15,000. Saan nanggaling ang 15,000? 550 minus 400 is 150,000 times 10%. Kasi 'di ba? Profit that exceeds 400,000. So 150 times 10% is 15,000. So yung ni-record mo is 10,000 lang. Pero yung forecast mo na fair value 10,000 lang. Pero yung nangyari 15,000 pala. Kasi 550 eh. So increase in the fair value of the liability. No, this is considered as a loss. Of course, bakit? Tumaas yung liability mo eh. Tumaas yung liability mo. Mas malaki yung babayaran mo. So, it's a loss. Hence, this recording, unrealized loss. Wait, i-make sure muna natin na tama yung ko kasi as you can see, marami akong naging typo eh. Tama ba ang na-type ko? Para sure lang tayo na tama na type ko. Yun, sabi na nga ba, may namali ako. Ay, hindi. Di man namali. January 15. Same pa rin sa sinabi ko. 2022. Gaya na sabi ko, kung makikita nyo dito, nag-record na agad sila. Nag-record na agad sila. Kasi may changes na nangyari. Dito, walang entrada. Walang entrada. Bakit? Kasi walang changes na nangyari. Walang changes. But my point still stands na mas stricto yung standard natin. Medyo mas stricto pagdating sa liabilities. My point still stands. Pero ngayon, walang entrada dito, walang entry kasi wala namang adjustments na nangyari. Pagdating dito, kaya pala hindi ko nalagay yung January 15 dito eh. Pagdating dito, may changes na nangyari. Kasi yung nirecord mong 10,000, dapat pala 15,000 yan. Yung nirecord mong liability na 10,000, dapat pala 15,000 yan. Hence, kailangan mong taasan ng 5,000 yung liability for contingent consideration mo. And since tumaas yung liability mo, it is considered as a loss. And that loss is going to be recorded under profit or loss, under P&L. Unrealized loss, 5,000. So, yun. Ngayon, here comes January 15. Ay, kulang talaga ng record ko. January 15, 2022, settlement na. So, yun. Yun na, nagkita na si Nagkita na si ABC, pati yung mga previous owners ng XYZ. Oh, ABC, may excess na 150,000 sa profit. Saan ang bonus namin? Saan ang additional cash? Ito, sabi ni ABC. Ito, 15,000. So, pag nangyari ng transaction na yon, i-close na ni ABC yung liability for contingent consideration, debit, and credit to cash o 15K kasi nabayaran niya na yung additional cash payment. So, yun yung nangyari. Yan, kapag na-achieve nila or yung kanilang contingent clause. E paano kapag hindi nila na-achieve? The profit for the year is 300,000. As you can see, mababa siya sa threshold na 400. So with that, ano mangyayari? Oy, may nakalimutan tayo. A contingent consideration that is classified as liabilities remeasured to fair value at each reporting date. Now, changes in the fair value are recognized under P&L. So, nasasabi natin kanina. Ngayon, kapag hindi na-reach yung contingent clause, hindi na-achieve. Kasi dito, threshold is 400. Eh, ang na-profit lang nila is 300. So, ano mangyayari? Liability is extinguished because the earnings target is not met. So, liability for contingent consideration, 10K. Uy, gain on extinguishment of liability, P&L, 10,000. Bakit? Swerte mo, nag-recognize ka ng liability sa una, tapos hindi nangyari yung condition, hindi na-achieve. So, nawalan ka ng liability. O, siyempre, masaya ka. Gain yun. Kasi, nawalan ka ng liability. And it is recorded under profit or loss. In the amount of 10,000. So, yun. Uy, may illustration 3 pa tayo. Contingent payments to employees. Paano to? So, base additional lang to eh. ABC ko acquired 90% interest in XYZ for 1 million. So, yun. Kung makikita nyo, stock acquisition to. 90% interest eh. Equity interest. So, yun. Kita nyo? Pero alam nyo naman yun eh. Na-discuss na last time pa. For 1 million pesos. Ito yung consideration. Final consideration na ba yan? Malalaman natin. XYZ's assets and liabilities have their fair values of 1,600 and 900. So, ang FBNA dito is 700 FBNA. Final FBNA na ba yan? Malalaman natin. Now, ABC measured the NCI at a fair value of 80. Now, 5 years ago, XYZ appointed Mr. Boss as the CEO under a 10-year contract which requires XYZ to pay Mr. Boss 100,000 pesos if XYZ is acquired before the contract expire. Now, ABC assumes the obligation to pay Mr. Boss the contracted amount. So, ang nangyari daw dito, 10 years ago, or not na sa 10 years ago, 5 years ago, si Mr. Boss naging CEO ni XYZ. Then, one of the clause sa kanyang contract na kapag daw si XYZ inacquire ng ibang company, babayaran si Mr. Boss ng 100,000. Si XYZ magbabayad. Now, in this case, babait si ABC. Inassume niya yung obligation ni XYZ na bayaran si Mr. Boss ng 100,000. So, ano mangyayari? Compute for the goodwill. Consideration transferred, 1 million. So, yan. Final consideration na yan. NCI provided 80,000. PHI, walang previously held. Total cost of investment, 1,080,000. FBNA. Final FBNA ba yung 700K? Hindi. Bakit? Kasi, inassume ni ABC yung 100,000 liability XYZ. So, with that, 1.6 identifiable assets minus 0.09 million identifiable liabilities. Wala na ng boses. Minus the assumption of the 100K payable to Mr. Boss. So, instead of 700, naging 600 na lang yung FBNA. So, 1,080,000 divided by or minus 1,080,000 minus 600K is 480. Yun yung goodwill. Yay! So, let's go to application of concepts. So, medyo nawalan na ako ng boss eh. Medyo nawalan. Loko. Bawa. Nawalan na ako ng boss eh. Wala, 2 hours, 16 minutes. Halok ka, nag-straight na ako, nag-rest. Yawa na yan, wala na ng boses. So, anyways, so I hope, baka hindi ko na magawa yung application of concepts, but if ever, I will post the answers to the exercise, the answers to the classroom discussions problems. So, sensya na kas, nawalan ako ng boses eh. Medyo stress this day. Nagpaayos pa ako ng sakyan. Ngayon ko lang ginawa to. Minadali ko. Ngayon, nawala na ako ng boses. Sorry. Pero ipapost ko yung answers for the classroom discussions. Pero don't worry too much. I know you can see na madali lang tong discussion na to eh. Bakit? Kasi expansion lang to ng acquisition date discussion natin nung una. And nung part 3, sa next discussion natin, it is also an expansion. Additional notes na rin yun, additional ideas. So after that discussion, by next week siguro around Saturday or Friday, we will have our long quiz for BAPE 7 business combination. Pero don't worry, madali lang naman yan eh. Acquisition date lang. Wala pa tayo sa consolidation. Next chapters pa yon, next topic pa yon, sa consolidation of financial statements. Doon na yung mga intercompany transactions. So, don't worry too much, and pasensya, medyo wala na ako ng boses, baka hindi ko magawa yung explanation ng application of concepts, pero madali na naman yan. And considering na last week, 4 hours yung natin dito, 4 hours yung na video natin. Ngayon, 2 hours 17 minutes. So, sakto 6 hours discussion for the 2 weeks. Di pa kasama doon yung mga oras na sa exercises. So, lumamang pa tayo. Kasi di ba, mga exercises, inano yan sa classroom. Pinapa-answer yan sa classroom. So, kasama yan sa pagbilang ng oras. Pero, nag-exceed pa tayo. Discussion pa lang, 6 hours na. Paano pa yung paggawa nyo ng mga exercises? Which in this case, quiz assignments. So, I guess, kaya na to. Pati, na-explain pa natin ng yung discussion. Kaso lang eh. Wala tayong yung interaction ba? Pero don't worry, babawi tayo pag wala na si COVID. So, if may questions man kayo, tanong lang. Madali lang man to sa acquisition date. Pero of course, gaya na sabi ko, dapat maganda yung foundation natin para maging CPA tayo. Okay? And bye-bye. Love you. Alright. Sige. Hello, bahala natin mawala ng boses. Gusto na explain natin to. Kahit problem 3 lang. Yung problem 4, isama na lang natin sa quiz assignments. Okay, problem 3 tayo kapatid. Problem 3 for classroom discussion daw to, sabi ni Zeus. Itong papel na to. Papel, plastic nito. So ito, problem 3 for classroom discussion. So ang sabi ito, this is for the share for share exchanges. So equity to equity to. Yung pinagpalit nila for consideration. Pinambayad niya, shares, naka-receive siya ng shares. So ito, ang sabi dito, Franco issued shares in exchange for all the outstanding shares of Longco. So 100% equity interest daw. So Fran's shares have par value of 20 pesos per share. Si Fran siya yung acquirer. Per value and a fair value of 100 pesos. So 20 par value, 100 fair value per share. Now on an acquisition date, Long's net, si Long acquiree, Long's net identifiable assets have fair value of 4 million. So yung FVNA is 4 million. Now Fran recognized goodwill of 200,000. Uy, binigay na agad yung goodwill. So anong hinahanap sa problem na to? From the business combination. So ang tanong, how many shares did Fran issue on the business combination? So yung tanong. So anong binigay sa atin? FVNA, par value per share, fair value per share, at yung goodwill. So, taas ang tanong, Fran issue, or how many shares was issued by Fran? Si Fran yung acquirer. So ang basically ang tinatanong dito, magkano yung consideration? And from that consideration, we can determine ilan yung shares na in-issue ni Fran for the business combination. So with that, okay, medyo wala tayong space. Okay. Paano natin to gagawin? So ang hinahanap is yung number of shares issued. So, dito ko tayo ilagay ang space para sa kamay ko. Klaro ba? Okay, let's go. So, sa problem 3 to Number 1. So, binigay ang goodwill. Binigay ang FVNA. Par value per share at ang fair value per share. And ang tinatanong, ilang shares yung in-issue. So, para matulungan tayo dyan, hanapin natin kung ano yung consideration transferred. So, with that, gagawin natin yung table. Paano yung table? Diba? Consideration transferred. Yung kay Zeus, NCI, previously held interest. Tapos, ang ilalagay natin to, total or COI, cost of investment. Pero, follow natin yung ni Zeus, FVNA, and the goodwill. So, gaya pinakita sa problem class. Kasi, lagay natin ng line and line dito. So, binigay ang goodwill. 200,000 na yung goodwill. Binigay ang FVNA. 4 million daw. Then, walang NCI. Kasi, 100% equity interest ang kinuha ni Fran. So, wala to. 0. Wala rin previously held interest. Walang binigay. So, from that, pwede nating ma-work back to pataas. Work back pataas. So, taran, FBNA, minus to. So, from this, we can determine na 4,200,000 to ang total. And since walang NCI, walang previously held interest, we can easily determine that the consideration transferred was to 4,200,000. So, na-squeeze ang ginawa natin dito. Ngayon, alam natin consideration transferred. Ang inhanap is kung ilang shares. So, ito alam natin, shares to, share capital, and the share premium. And with that, malalaman natin. Pero, since binigay naman yung fair value per share, madali na ito malalaman. 4,200,000 divided by the 100 pesos fair value per share. is equals to 42,000 shares issued. Basic. Ni-work back lang natin. Dali, no? Ngayon, pumunta tayo sa problem 2. Ano ba tong problem 2? Problem 2, number 2. Business combination, achieving stages. So, step acquisition to. Step acquisition kasi hindi mo pa kontrolado. Tapos, next time ba, kontrolado mo na. Anyway, si Angry ko daw acquired 20% interest in Misery ko. How many years ago? So, ito yung non-control, hindi to controlling 20% lang eh. Tapos wala pang additional information. Ngayon, on January 1, 2021, Angry acquired additional 40% interest in Misery for 300,000. Nagka-acquire siya ng additional 40, so 40 plus 20, 60% na yung equity interest niya. So, may control na siya. Acquirer na siya. Acquiree na si Misery. So, may business combination na tayo. Tapos yung binayaran niya is 300,000 in consideration. Now, on this date, January 1, Misery's net identifiable assets have a fair value of 690,000. So, yung FVNA is 690. And Angry's previous investment in Misery has a carrying amount of 128 and a fair value of 138. So, binigay na agad yung fair value ng previously held interest. So, hindi natin kailangan i-gross up. Given na eh. So, Angry opted to measure the NCI at a proportionate share. So, anong hinahanap dito? Goodwill daw. Magkano daw yung goodwill? So, previously held is 20% with a fair value of 138. Buti binigay na. The consideration transferred was 300 and the FBNA was 690. So, given na. Tapos tandaan nyo, since 60% yung kinontrol ni Angry, yung NCI controlling interest is, or non-controlling interest, is at 40%. So with that, solve na natin. Masikip. Masikip. So, sana tayo? Okay. Sikip ng table. So, kabilang page pala. So, yun. Yun. Okay, gets. Ay, calculator na to. Yung calculator pala. Okay, let's go. Sorry for that interruption, my friends. So, number 2 tayo. So, sige, gawin natin yung table ni Zeus. Pero magawa rin natin to gamit yung table na provided na binigay ko last time. So, gawin rin natin yon para makita natin both sides. So, ang consideration transferred daw was 3. Gawin natin yung table. NCI. So, tandaan natin. The NCI, yung FBNA was 690. The NCI percentage is 40%. The PHI, ano yung fair value nga? Is 138. Total or the consideration of investment, consideration cost of investment, FBNA, and the goodwill. Kasi tanong sa problem, ano daw yung goodwill? So, sure ka ng goodwill lalabas to. Anyways, ang consideration transferred is 300,000. Then ang NCI 690 yung FBNA, proportionate share, proportionate method. NCI percentage is 40%. 690 times 40% is 276,000. Previously held interest 138 daw. So cost of investment mo o yung total plus 300 plus 138 for 714. Easy. Ngayon, given naman FBNA 690. So, ang yung goodwill is 24,000. Easy, no? Easy. Ngayon, gawin natin yung table
o yung binigay kong table para lang ma-expand lang to see it in another way. Total parent, which is 60%, and the NCI, which is 40%. So the parent, ang consideration niya is 300,000. Ngayon, ang previously held interest niya is 138. And ang NCI, wala nang space. Is 276. So, ang total is 714. Nakalimutan na natin lagyan. Si cost of investment, si FB&A. Ngayon dito, hatian sila. Okay. FB&A and si Goodwill. So, FB&A, total is, nakalagay, 690. Then, NCI is 276, proportionate method So, 690 minus 276, 414. So, taran, ito 24 to. And 24. So, yan, from this table. Para lang makita to in another perspective. Ganon, kapatid. Ngayon, pumunta naman tayo sa number 3. Nawala na ako ng boses. So, number 3, anong sabi dito? Sabi dito, business combination without transfer of consideration. Okay. Without consideration daw. Without transfer of consideration daw. Nagco acquired 100% voting rights in Sagco by contract alone. So, wala siyang transfer. Nag-contract lang sila. Paano yun? No consideration was transferred on the arrangement. SAGs, si acquiree, net identifiable assets of fair value of 1,800,000. So, ang FB&A natin is 1,800,000. So, nag-measured the NCI at a proportionate share. How much is the goodwill? So, tandaan nyo, without transfer of consideration. So, tandaan nyo yung pinag-discuss natin sa PowerPoint. Number 3, paano natin ito gagawin? Consideration transferred, NCI, PHI, total, fair value, FB&A, and the goodwill. So, okay. Wala tayong consideration at transfer. And this is a contract. This is a contract. Hindi to tulad nung nagkaroon ng decrease sa outstanding shares. Contract lang to Contract lang. So, wala kang consideration na i-record. Ngayon, given ang FB&A. And yung FB&A mo, given ang FB&A. Magkano ang FB&A mo? 1,800,000. Tama ba? 1,800,000. Ngayon, wala kang previously held interest. May ilalagay ka ba sa NCI? Of course. May ilalagay ka sa NCI. Magkano ilalagay mo sa NCI? Since contract to, walang transfer of consideration, walang previously contract to. So, ang ilalagay mo sa NCI is 1,800,000 times 100%. Contract to Wala siyang biniling boto. Wala siyang transfer consideration. Gaya nung sa examples natin sa discussion kanina. So, 1,800,000 nilagay mo dito. So, 1,800,000 din dito. So, 0 to. Uy, nag-blackout tayo kapatid. Ilang yata sa samsel ko. Nag-blackout tayo kapatid. Yun na, bala na blackout. Continue natin. Hindi naman kailangan ng internet para mag-record sa cellphone. So, anyways. So, yun. Sana tayo? So, yun. 1,800,000 dito. So, ang goodwill, 0. Wala tayong goodwill. Kasi nga, kung matatandaan nyo sa example kanina, by contract alone to So, wala kang i-record na consideration transferred. Tapos, yung NCI, yung lahat ng voting shares, is nasa although may 100% voting rights siya, this is by contract. hindi niya transfer ng shares to. This is by contract. So, the shares are still with the other investor. 100% of them. All of them. Kasi itong voting rights na to is by contract. It is not by the shares. So, the shares of the company, the shares of the acquiree is still with the other investors. Pero, kahit na nasa kanila lahat ng shares, wala silang control. Nagko lahat. So, they are considered, all of them are considered to be NCI. Hence, the FBNA, Proportionate Method, share, 1,800,000 times 100%. All of them are considered to be NCI. Hence, wala tayong goodwill dito. Ayun, pumunta naman tayo sa number 4. Daming lamok. Measurement period. Si measurement period. Yung 1 year. Okay, let's go. Let's rock and roll. Basahin natin. On November 2, 2021, ABC acquired all the identifiable assets and liabilities. Ayos natin yung daming lamok. Bumalik ng ilaw. Para power on delay to. Anyways, on December 2, 2001, ABC acquired all the identifiable assets and liabilities of XYZ for 2 million. So, asset acquisition to. Now, information on the acquisition date. So, baka dito yung mga provisional amount, no? Sabi dito, XYZ's net identifiable asset were valued at 1,980,000. So, yun yung FBNA. Now, this amount, pero hindi to yung final amount eh. Bakit? May provisional daw eh. This amount include a provisional amount of 220,000 assigned to a specialized machine for which the fair value is not readily determinable. So, hindi pa to yung final FBNA mo kasi may provisional amount included in that. ABC tentatively depreciated the machine over 6 years using the straight line method in 2001. Yun yung nangyari or information on acquisition date. Since hindi ka pa sure kung ano yung proper amount ng specialized machine na to, provisional amount muna of 220,000. Ngayon, information after acquisition date. Klaro ba? Okay. Noong April 1, 2002, okay, within the acquisition date pa yan kasi acquisition date, measurement period pa yan kasi ang acquisition date was on November 2, 2001. So, ang measurement period is up to November 1, 2022. 2021 to 2022. Noong April 1, 2022, an independent consultant determined that the machine's fair value on acquisition date was 1,400,000, was 140,000, and the remaining useful life as of that date was 4 years. So, kita nyo, the provisional amount was 220. Pero yung proper pala was 140,000. Then, this was depreciated using 6 years. Straight line. Pero dapat pala 4 years. Kasi yung remaining useful life niya eh. So, with that, punta tayo sa next bullet point. On July 1, 2022, the stock market crash. Various held for trading securities acquired from XYZ Incorporated with acquisition date fair value of 500 now have a fair value of only 20,000. So, may gagawin ba tayo sa ano na to? Malalaman natin. Ang requirement, provide the adjusting entry to restate the goodwill. Kasi, may additional information that was obtained. So, let's do this. I-isolate muna natin si number 3. Number 4. So, kung matatandaan nyo sa ginawa natin, paano ba to? Mas malaki yung space dito. Anyways, dito natin nilagay yung journal entries. Yung provisional daw, same lang, number 4 rin yan. Yung provisional daw, or lagay natin yan, consideration transferred, NCI, previously held interest, the total cost of investment, FBNA, klaro pa ba? Yan, klaro. And goodwill. So, as you can see here, provisional muna. Same sa ginawa sa PowerPoint kanina. Now, the provisional, gaya na sabi sa problem, the consideration transferred was 2 million. The NCI, meron ba tayong NCI? Ano ba sabi sa problem? Oh, asset acquisition pala to. So, wala tayong NCI. So, wala tayong previously held. So, wala siyang ano. So, the total is 2 million. Ngayon, ang FBNA natin, 1,980. Although, tandaan nyo, may kasama yung provisional amount of 220,000 for that specialized machinery. So, 20,000 to, no? 20,000. So, yan. Ngayon, punta tayo sa adjusted. Provisional to. Ito si adjusted. Kasi dito na dumating yung mga bagong information. Ngayon, same pa rin ang consideration transferred. Walang pinagbago. Pero siya nagbago na. Eee! So, wala pa rin tayo ng NCI, pati PHI. So, 2 million pa rin yan. Pero pagdating sa FBNA, may bago na tayo. Bakit? Kasi yung provisional amount of 220 for that specialized machinery kasama sa FBNA. So, with that, tas ang bagong value na daw was 1,400,000. So, paano natin yan isusolve? Paano natin i-account? Simple lang, kapatid. Si 1,980, same lang sa kanina. Minus 220 kasi hindi yan yung proper account niya eh. Plus, yung proper value niya. This is 140. So, equals 1,900,000. Tama? Wait lang. 140, 160. Huwag tayo mag-mental math, delikado. Plus 140. Ay, chamba. 1,900,000. So, yan na yung bagong FBNA natin. 1,900,000. So, 2 million minus 1,900,000, 100,000 to. So, yan na yung adjusted goodwill natin. 100,000. Uy, sir, hindi nyo man in-account yung yung nangyaring sa July 1, 2022? Of course, hindi natin in-account. Bakit? Hindi siya kasama sa measurement period adjustment. Bakit? Kasi the facts and circumstances relating to this relating is the facts and circumstances noong July 1, 2022 is not related to what have existed during the acquisition date. Wala siyang labot sa nangyaring business combination ng acquisition date. Stock market crash yan, nangyaring acquisition date noong November 2021 pa. Nagka-stock market crash July 1, 2022. Tagal na yan. Wala siyang relation, labot, or any words, kebs, ganon, sa acquisition date natin. Hence, ignored siya. So, ngayon, same sa gagawa natin yan, journal entry. Paano natin yung gagawa ng journal entry? Dito na sa taas. Yan ang adjusted goodwill. Okay, arrange natin para klaro sa camera. So, same sa April 1, 2022. Goodwill, tumaas ang goodwill natin, from 20,000 naging 100,000. So, from that, we can say na 80,000 yung tinaas ng goodwill natin. And yung machine, it was originally valued at 220,000. Pero, after obtaining additional information, it was later on valued, or yung tama niyang fair value was 140,000. So, that is, sino nagchat-chat? 220 minus 140. That's 80,000. Sakto lang. Same lang sa kanina. Then, ito yung accumulated depreciation. Bakit? Kasi iba yung basis ng pag-depreciate Kasi kung mapapansin natin dito, balikan natin. At first, yung basis ng depreciation was 220 over 6 years straight line method. Dito 140 dapat. And the remaining useful life to date was 4 years. So, same na sa ginawa natin kanina. Yung provisional amount, ito siya. 220. K na lang. Then, divided by 6. Kasi 6 years na yung remaining useful life eh. Times, kailan ba? November 2. So, 2 months remaining. Kasi November, December eh. So, tama ba to? Oo, tama to. Confidence lang yan, kapatid. Divided by 6 times 2 divided by 12. 6, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Then, ito yung provisional amount. Ito yung i-record. Chicken. Itong chat na to. Tapos, sino ba to? Silence natin. So, ito naman yung should be amount. Itong provisional amount to. Ito yung should be amount. That should be me holding your hand. At fair value to siya. So, 140 dapat. Tapos, remaining useful life should be 4. Then, 2 months yun kasi November eh. November 2 nag-start. So, 140 divided by 4 times 2 divided by 12. So, 5, 8, 3, 3. This should be the, ito sana yung dapat na din-depreciate. Ngayon, kung makikita nyo, ito yung din-depreciate nila, pero ito dapat yung na-depreciate. So, as you can see here, nasobrahan sila sa pag-depreciate ng specialized machine na yon. So, with that, decrease yan sa accumulated depreciation, increase sa retained earnings. Kasi ito yung dapat na na-depreciate nila. Pero nasobrahan sila. And as we know, depreciation, expense yan. Nasobrahan sila sa pag-depreciate. And ganyan logic natin sinabi kanina. Expense decreases retained earnings. So, since tinanggalan mo ng binawasan mo yung should be expense, mag-increase yung retained earnings mo. Edi happy. So, 611 minus 5833. 611 minus 5833. 278. So, ito. Accumulated depreciation. Accum dep. And RE. Nag-increase ang RE. Nabawasan ng accumulated depreciation. Yun, basic. No sweat, di ba? Okay, let's go to number 5. Ang numbers ba to? So, nawala. Nag-phase out tayo dun. Anyways, determining determining what is part of the business combination. So, Skyco acquired 100% of the interest in Star. So, si Skyco yung acquirer, Star yung acquiring. Net identifiable assets with fair value of 600 for 800,000. Now, ito another trick to. Kapag sinabing lalo to pag may wording na 100% interest, then ang pag sinabi yung in-acquire is net identifiable asset, and as we know, another name for net identifiable asset is equity. Net asset is equity. You can already say that that is an stock acquisition. But if the problem will say na acquire the assets and assume the liabilities, now you can say that is an asset acquisition. But dito, net identifiable asset, net asset, that is also the other term for equity. Tapos may 100 interest pa. So you can be sure that this is an equity acquisition. Stock acquisition. Anyways, additional lang yan, point. So in-acquire down ni Sky C Star with a fair value of 600 for 800,000. So, FVNE siguro to, 600. Ito yung consideration transferred. So with that, The valuation of the consideration transferred includes the following. Tapos ang point natin kasi dito is what is the part of the business combination. So, the valuation of the consideration transferred includes the following. So, dito sa 800. Ngayon, 30,000 reimbursement for appraisal fees incurred by Star in the valuing of a patent. Reimbursement for appraisal fees incurred by Star. Seka, ano to? Anong nature niya? This is acquisition related cost. Reimbursement for the appraisal fees for the appraisal fees. This is a acquisition related cost. This is an expense. So hindi mo siya include sa consideration transferred. Next, 50,000, the fair value of a trade secret that Sky will grant Star after the business combination. The trade secret is carrying amount of 40,000 in Sky books. Now this is BS. Bakit? Hindi mo siya kailangan i-transfer or isama dito sa consideration transferred. Bakit? Because this trade secret does not qualify as a consideration transferred for the main reason na it is retained in the combined entity after the business combination. Tandaan nyo, magiging combined entity to sila. So itong trade secrets na to, kahit na 40 o 50 gamitin mo, hindi yan siya mapupunta or magre-retain lang siya sa entity. Kasi kung babalikan natin yung yung discussion natin sa determining what is part of a business combination. Okay, basahin ko . A transaction that is arranged primarily for the benefit of the acquirer or the combined entity rather than primarily for the benefit of the acquiree or its former owners before the combination is likely to be a separate transaction. And that separate transaction is excluded from the consideration transferred. Now, pagdating dito, this is an acquisition-related cost, this 30,000 reimbursement. So, automatic wala yan sa consideration transferred. Expense yan. Kasi expense siya. Now, dito, itong trade secret na to, it retained with the entity. So, there's no point in including it. It retained in the combined entity. So, there's no point in including it sa consideration transferred. Magiging lang yan siya. Magiging kasama lang yan sa consideration transferred. Gaya ng sabi ko, if it is primarily for the benefit of the acquiree or its former owners. Now, this trade secret, it is for the benefit of the acquirer or in this case, the combined entity. Kasi this trade secret is going to remain with the combined entity. Hence, this 50,000 fair value is not included in the consideration transferred. So, with that, ang tanong, compute for the goodwill. Compute for the goodwill. So, goodwill number 5 tanong. Okay, let's go. Consideration transferred. Excuse me po. NCI, PHI, total, cost of investment, FBNA, and the goodwill. So, the consideration transferred, 800k yun, di ba? Minus the 30k kasi expense yan. Diyan sa kasama sa consideration transferred. And minus the 50k kasi that trade secret remain with an entity. Hence, it is a separate transaction. Hence, it is excluded from the consideration transferred. So, 720 dapat to. Walang NCI, walang PHI, 720. The FBNA given was okay, sa reacquired rights tayo and settlement of pre-existing relationship. So here, you can see, ang given on January 1, 2001 or 2021, Entity A acquires all the assets and liabilities of Entity B. So, it is an asset acquisition. All assets and liabilities for 2 million peso. So, Entity B's identifiable assets and liabilities have fair values of 4 million and 2,200,000. So, as you can see, since these are reacquired rights and settlement of pre-existing relationship topic, itong consideration na to, pati FBNA, most probably hindi yun yung final amounts nila. So ito, may additional information tayo eh. So anong gagawin natin next? Prior to the business, for the first bullet point, prior to the business combination, Entity B is a franchisee of Entity A. So with that, the franchise agreement has a remaining term of 5 years, which either party can terminate without any penalty. So may franchise agreement sila. Pre-existing relationship, kapatid. Contractual. Between a franchisor and a franchisee. May franchise agreement sila. So, review natin kung anong sinabi sa kung contractual, paano niya nire-recognize, basahin natin. If pre-existing relationship is settled due to the business combination. O ito, nag-business combination sila. Beforehand, may franchise agreement sila. Ngayon, nag-business combination sila. Now, the acquirer recognizes a settlement gain or loss that is to be measured as follows. At the lower of, if the pag contractual yung pre-existing relationship, as this one, franchise agreement, the lower between the amount, first, the amount by which the contract is favorable or unfavorable from the acquirer's perspective when compared with market terms. So, may market terms tayo dito, si at market at si off market. Or, any settlement amount stated in the contract that is available to the counterparty to which the contract is unfavorable. Now, if this is less than the amount in the first one, the difference is included as part of business combination accounting. So, para mas maintindihan natin, isolve natin yan. Pero basahin muna natin. The franchise agreement has a fair value of 300,000, of which 100,000 is at market value. The remaining, which is 200,000, the off-market value is favorable to Entity A but unfavorable to Entity E, to Entity B. So, Entity A ang acquirer, Entity B ang acquiree. Tandaan nyo yan. Ngayon, the third bullet point, Entity A's related contract liability account as a carrying amount of 230,000. While yung kay Entity B naman, the related franchise account has a carrying amount of 150,000. So, ang point dito, compute for the goodwill. And samahan na rin natin ng journal entries afterwards. So, with that, answer na natin. Pagod life. Consideration transferred, the NCI, the PHI, and the total cost of investment, FBNA, and the goodwill ang hinahanap, no? Goodwill. So, cost of consideration na binigay is 2 million. Pero, meron tayong 200,000 of market value. Tandaan nyo, 300,000 yung fair value ng franchise agreement, 100,000 yung at market value, tapos may off market value of 200,000 yung residual. So, ima-minus mo yan sa consideration transferred. Which is 1,800,000. Ngayon, may NCI ba tayo? Acquires all assets and liabilities. So, wala yan. Asset acquisition yan. Wala rin tayong PHI. So, 1,800,000 ang ating total cost of investment. Ngayon, sa FBNA, dito na. Maraming mangyayari dito. 4 million yung identifiable, tama ba? Identifiable assets. 4 million. Ngayon, meron tayong to intangible asset to under franchise agreement. So, 100K intangible asset on reacquired right. Kasi at market value. So, plus 100,000 K intangible asset on reacquired right. Diyan ba nagtatapos? Hindi. Bakit? Kasi while entity B's related franchise account has a 150k carrying amount, so minus 150k for the franchise, magiging part na yun ng business combination. So hindi mo kailangang isali yan sa FB&A. Tandaan nyo, magiging or kakainin ni entity A si entity B. So itong carrying amount of 150k na nasa books na entity B, wala na yan. Tanggalin mo yan sa FB&A kasi sinama yan sa FB&A. Pero tanggalin mo yan. Bakit? Kasi magiging as one na sila, combined entity. So there's no point in accounting for that. So remove mo yan. 150k for the minus the 2.2 identifiable liabilities. So with that, 4 million plus 100 minus 150 minus 2 million 200 1,750. Yan ang FB&A mo. Minus my shoulder, my head. The goodwill is 50,000. Ngayon, let's journal entry that. So, acquisition date is January 1, 2021. So, identifiable assets. Sorry, pangit na lighting, kulang ang space. So, ito, identifiable assets is 4 million, yung given, plus 100k, yung reacquired right, minus the 150k, yung carrying amount ng franchise agreement kay entity B, si acquiree. So, total niyan is 3,950. Uy, makulangan tayo ng space dito. Tapos yung goodwill, pasensya na if, goodwill is 50,000. Debit yan sila. Punta tayo sa credit side. Liabilities. Ito yung liabilities assumed. 2,200,000. Walang pagbabago dyan. Ngayon, cash. Bawas yung 200,000. Consideration transferred. 2M to, 2M. Minus the 200,000. 1,800,000 na lang. So, yan. Ngayon, meron pa tayong i-record. January 1 din. Same year. 2021. Ito to record the business combination. Itong next, contract liability. Amount of 230,000. Iko-close mo yan. Cash in the amount of 200,000. And settlement gain. Kasi, bakit? Anong point nito? Tandaan nyo, may pre-existing relationship sila. Tapos, nag-decide silang maging combined entity. In-acquire ni entity A yung mga assets and liabilities. In-acquire ni entity A yung assets and assumption of liabilities entity B. So, naging as one sila. So, there's no point in still recording the pre-existing or yung franchise agreement nila beforehand. So, i-close mo yun. Hence, this journal entry. So, ito, to record yung effective settlement nila of the pre-existing relationship. Ito, as a separate transaction from the business combination. Ito kasi, to record the business combination. Ito, to settle the pre-existing relationship. Kasi there's no point in maintaining that existing relationship kasi naging combined entity na sila eh. So, there's no point for that franchise agreement. Hence, kailangan mo siyang i-close. Ngayon, swerte si entity A kasi sa books niya, yung contract liability is 230,000. So, kailangan niya i-close. Kasi wala nang contract liability. Iisang entity na lang sila, combined entity. So, there's no point in recording this. Hence, close nila. Credit contract liability, 230,000. Pero yung binayaran niyang cash for that is 200 lang. Ito yun, si off market value. So, 230 yung liability, 200 lang binayad niya, may gain siya na 30,000. Settlement of the pre-existing relationship. So, yan. Basic lang. Punta tayo sa last number. Sheet number 7. Buti, 7 lang to. Kala ko 10 na naman. So, sa exercise 4, problem 4 pala. Sama na lang natin yan sa ano. Or, sama ko na ba? Or, yan ay sama natin sa assignment. Para di ba, sa gaya ng sabi ko, retention can be achieved through repetition. Paano ka mag-repetition? Solve. Ngayon, contingent consideration. On January 1, 2021, entity A acquires 100% of entity B or in entity B. So this is This is stock acquisition. Karo ba? Okay, karo. Stock acquisition to. In exchange for entity A's 10,000 shares. So share for share transaction with par value per share of 20 and a fair value of 200. 10,000 shares, par value 20, fair value per share 200. Now, entity B's net identifiable assets have a fair value of 1,900,000. So, FVNA is 1,900,000. Now, in addition to that, ito na, yung contingent clause na. Entity A agrees to issue additional 2,000 shares if entity B's 2021 profit will exceed 3,600,000. So, kapag nag-exceed daw ng 3,600,000 yung profit ni entity B, additional 2,000 shares ang ibibigay ni entity A on top of that 10,000. Now, the fair value of this contingent consideration is 280,000. So, yan. Contingent clause. Pag nag-exceed ng 3,600,000 yung profit entity B. Ngayon, requirements tayo. How much is the goodwill recognized on acquisition date? So, goodwill daw ang hinahanap. Di goodwill lang ibigay natin. Kung anong hinahanap, yun ang ibigay. Number 7. Consideration transferred, NCI, PHI, total, FP&E, and goodwill. Goodwill ang hinahanap ng problem. Now, consideration transferred, paano to? 10,000 shares, di ba? 10k shares. Then, 200 yung fair value per share, 200. Ngayon, hindi lang yan. May kasama pang contingent consideration na may fair value na 280,000. So, sama natin. Plus 280k. Magkano yan? 10,000 times 200 plus 280. 228,000. 2,280,000. NCI, may NCI ba tayo? Wala, kasi assets dito 100% equity interest ang in-acquire. So, walang natira para sa NCI. Wala ring previously held interest. So, 2,280,000 ang ating total cost of investment. Ngayon, ang FPNI given naman is 1,900,000. Nagumiga naman ang puso sa kama ko. So, 380,000. Yan ang ating goodwill. Basic, no sweat. Pero may dalawang requirements pa. C, B at C. Ngayon, sabi dito, ito, alam natin ito. Feel natin ito na yung scenario. Yung case 1 and case 2. Kapag na-achieve yung contingent condition, and yung second, kapag hindi na-achieve. Now, entity B's 2001 profit is 3,800,000. Lumampas sa 3,600,000. So, i-grant yung contingent consideration. So, entity A issues the additional shares on January 14, 2022, provide the journal entries. So, settlement date is 2022, si January 14. So, ito si requirement A, requirement B. So, nung December 31, 2021, walang entrada. Bakit? Walang adjustments na nangyari. natupad lang yung condition. Unlike dun sa contingent consideration classified as liability, may nangyaring adjustments. Pero dito, walang nangyaring adjustments. May nangyari lang event. And yung settlement date nila is January 14, 2022. Yun yung pinag-usapan. Ngayon, previously, na-record na dito na yung tawag dito. Sige, lagyan na lang natin para previously kasi pag ito yung kung tawag doon. Nung ito yung nangyari, business combination na to. Investment in subsidiary. Kasi equity interest to is stock acquisition, subsi. Okay. Share capital, share premium, and share premium contingent consideration. Lagyan na natin para for the benefit of everybody naman. So 10k times tagon. Magkano? 20 no. Lagyan na natin. Lagyan. So 200,000 yung share capital. Then yung contingent consideration was 280. Antok na. Edit pa natin to. Contingent consideration. Basahin natin ulit. Baka may na-miss out na naman tayo. GG na naman. Sabi na nga ba may na-miss out tayo yung goodwill. Kalimutan natin si goodwill, kapatid. So, ayan. Tawag ito. 220. Nailong-ilo na tayo. 10,000 times nabuboard na kayo, no? Ko rin. Shit. Times 200 minus 20. 1,800,000. Hindi, mali. 10,000 times 200 minus 280. 1,720 to. Then goodwill is 380. Investment in subsidiary, since saan na yun? Is 1,900,000 plus 380 minus 200 minus 1,720 minus 280. Saan na galing ano? $1,520 pala dapat to. Sobrang tayo. Tama na. Then the inducement is 1,900,000. So 1,900,000 plus 380. Okay, tama na. Sorry, na-blackout tayo. Nag-phase out mo na. Okay, basta ito yung nangyari nung business combination. Investment in subsidiary, bakit stock acquisition to? Hindi to asset acquisition. Hence, investment in subsidiary ang ginamit na account, 1,900,000. Goodwill, 380. Compute natin. Share capital, 20 times 10,000 shares that was issued. Then, share premium, 1,520. Itong share premium contingent consideration is 280 kasi given naman yan, fair value. So, okay, bilisan natin. So, NT share premium, contingent consideration, Then, share capital kasi nag-issue na eh. Then, share premium rin. Itong share premium na to, i-squeeze natin. Kung anong matila, kung anong residual, yun na yun. So, 280. Then, additional shares of 2,000 times 20, that's 40,000. 40,000, so squeeze natin to siya. 240 ang ating share premium. Squeeze to, squeeze. Squeeze me, baby. 240,000. Ngayon, ito ang i-record natin kapag successful. Kasi 3.6 eh. 3.6 yung threshold. Pero 3.8 yung na-achieve niya. So, with that, ito ang i-record. Now, sa requirement C, ang profit lang was 2,800,000. So, hindi na-achieve yung 3.6. Nagkulang. So, ano ang recording dyan? Eh, di i-close mo lang yung share premium, contingent consideration, ibalik mo sa share premium. Gaya na sabi natin, hindi lalabas ng equity yung changes, pero magkakaroon ng changes within the equity. Reclassification lang. In this case, gaya na dito, reclassification lang. Dito rin, reclassification. 280. Yun, 280. Natapos rin. Basic. Kinukulang na ng hininga. Taba ko na. Anyways, class. So, yan yung discussion natin for the part 2. Next week, part 3. Then, around Friday or Saturday, long quiz tayo for business combination, acquisition date. So, yun lang. Bye-bye. Love you.